Welcome, welcome to the Sigma Show, episode 113. I am your host, Sigma. Just before I let you know who's going to be joining me this week, we'll go over what our topics will be. First up, PlayStation has finally released the details of their Project Q handheld. It is officially called the PlayStation Portal. It will launch for $199, and it kind of has a bunch of caveats. We'll get into that. Other than that, Microsoft, in their quest to finalize this Activision Blizzard acquisition, have made a new licensing deal for streaming rights with Ubisoft, of all companies, in order to appease the CMA. So I believe some reworking has to be done with the deal to see if this thing goes through, but we'll talk about maybe what those details are, what that could mean for both Ubisoft and Microsoft and like this whole deal in general. And here to speak with me about these topics today, Honey Money.
Hello.
Jim8, also known as Design Delve.
What's good, team? It me.
And Rexicon Jesse.
Hey, that's me. I don't know how I always end up last in every single live stream I'm on, but I do. So hey, it's fun to bring up the rear.
It's the what do you call it? The alphabetical order of your names. Like R is so far at the back of the library that in most cases you are just before me because I'm technically usually always last, unless like Jeff is on stream with me. So that's the answer to that mystery. Welcome, everybody.
Cool.
I see all of you guys' emojis in the chats. Welcome.
Yep, that's us.
Great, awesome.
Yeah.
We're here.
As we tend to do, we'll start with what we've been playing, what we've been watching, just general stuff that you want to let the others know. Last week was almost all Baldur's Gate 3. So I won't ban Baldur's Gate 3 talk from this stream because I know we have an entirely different new set of people. But I will ask to please let's not fill the entire podcast with it.
Game.
But anybody feel like going first?
I mean, I can.
Well, go right ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm very unorthodox. One time on NPR, we were listening, and they were like, "Hey, the track and field thing is happening, and it gets way less buzz than the Olympics, but it's really cool. Everyone should watch it." And we were like, "The heck is track and field?" So we went and we looked it up, and my partner really enjoyed it. And now the track and field world championships in Budapest, I think, are on now, and we've been watching that. And yeah, it's actually pretty fascinating. It's there's that's the hurdles, the long runs, the sprints.
Yeah, like all the track and field stuff is usually
javelin
the best
disc.
part
Yeah,
of the
javelin
Olympics.
discs.
Yeah.
Those javelins. Okay, first of all,
They're scary.
amazing. Yeah, the people, just ladies and men, they're launching them. It's like, that's 60 meters. It's not quite far enough to be the best. It's like 60 meters. You kidding me? But the dudes who pick up the javelins are not they need to just calm down. They are you watch the javelin land and they take one step to grab it. It's like, you are too close. That's a weapon. You need to wait for it to land and then approach.
They're dealing with professionals. They know they won't go haywire off to the side, I guess.
There's one time a dude almost tripped over it because he was so close to it when it landed.
If they get hit, they get triple their salary, so they're just trying to get hit.
It's like, come on, get me.
Please, I want to retire.
Oh my God. Lampy says there have been a lot of deaths in javelin, Jesse.
Wow.
The sport, not the weapon, though. Yeah, but that's what it seems like. They're just they're way too close. There's also, it's actually really fun. They got the ball toss and the javelin and all that stuff. It's really fun to see people doing that. But the best part of javelin, other than the javelining and being scared that someone's going to get stabbed, they return the javelins on these little RC cars that are shaped like real cars, but they're this big, and they put the javelin on top and then it drives it back. It's so funny to be all this stuff, they just see this little car go in the background.
That's
really cool.
Yeah, it's adorable. We've actually been really enjoying it, and we're not huge on sports, but this is getting us. It's pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you're starting at the beginning. That's what sports were before
Yeah.
before all the other ones.
Yeah, forget all this new stuff.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, definitely the track and field stuff is always the most exciting stuff when you watch the Olympics, I feel anyway. That's the stuff that always gets the biggest crowd. That and gymnastics, I think.
Yeah. Which I don't think that has gymnastics. I don't think.
No,
I think that's
it
part of the
doesn't.
main Olympic. Okay, cool.
Yeah, gymnastics is its own thing
Okay. Yeah, like
because
freaking
they have
wild stuff.
several different things in gymnastics too, so it has to be its own thing.
Oh yeah,
Makes
'cause they
sense.
have,
Yeah,
Like the-
rhythmic gymnastic and all the
Yeah, like-
rings and yeah,
yeah, the rings. That's what they're called. The horse, the pommel horse.
yeah.
Pommel
Yeah,
horse,
the pommel horse, uneven bars, uh, that
Is there
weird trampoline.
Yeah,
Just like
trampoline, long
math,
legs,
math
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
mats? Is there
Yeah.
an even bars?
No, I
An
think it's
even
just
bars?
uneven bars. I don't
Yeah.
think they ever even those bars out. No.
But you have two two bars.
Yeah,
Just
there's a
they're,
high
they're
one and then
even.
there's a lower one, right?
No, but there's also like two bars just like equal. They are equal.
Really?
So like you do this.
Is that called the even bars?
I
Oh.
don't know
like
what
you
it's
do
called
the
in
walk
English.
across 'em.
Yeah. I don't know all these things in English because I grew up I've been a gymnast and I also grew up watching track and field, so I know
You
a
used to
lot
be a
about
gymnast?
these things.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a
Can
question for
in
you.
fact do a backflip.
Mhm.
Do a
Because
backflip right now.
because we were talking
Right now.
we were talking a little bit about flipping on the last stream Jesse and I were on.
Yeah.
But as kids, we did not use proper gymnastics terminology. So, what would you call a backflip?
But
What-
that's the issue in English though, because I
That's an
know what I
English
would
thing.
call it in Swedish,
Or
but
what's
I
it
don't know
called in
what I would call it
Swedish?
in English. Because I mean, it's just a backflip, but they sure have
but
more
what are the
technical
do your hands
terms.
touch the ground for a backflip?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because I
Yeah.
think American gymnasts call that a backhand spring.
Yeah, if the
Oh,
hands
okay,
touch,
yeah.
I think it's a spring.
Yeah.
Whereas
'Cause
where
you
where I
can't do
grew up,
one
that's
without.
just a backflip.
Yeah.
Backward somersault, maybe?
Yeah, somersault.
Like a back simi, that's what we would say is like a back flip or a back somersault where your hands do not touch the ground.
Okay.
But that just doesn't seem like normal.
I thought a back somersault is when you're always in contact with the ground. Like you'd like do like whoop, and then your hands would touch, and then your legs would come up.
Then,
We typically
like a
do
roll?
several.
Like,
like
a,
a
but
roll
not a roll
across the ground.
nah, you
like
go
a-
backwards
No.
onto your hands and then
Yeah.
back onto your feet.
Yeah. So like you got to have a real flexible spine.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean
Roll
without
That, and you
without
gotta do it
leaving the
fast.
ground?
Right.
Yeah.
So like
'Cause
that
there's
little
no,
that
like-
slinky shit.
Yeah. Exactly. Because that's a somersault. You don't leave the ground.
Now I just want to see someone do that down some stairs.
Oh God, no.
The real.
There's probably a world of online videos that you could look up, Jermaine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like, how are you gonna Google that slinky shit downstairs?
I mean,
Human slinky shit downstairs. Oh, that
Give it a-
sounds
give it a
bad.
try.
That
Yeah,
sounds
give it a try.
bad.
Yeah.
Don't
Report back.
Google that. Don't Google that.
Okay. Sure.
all right. Does that do it for you, Jesse? Or you been like playing or watching anything else?
I mean, technically, but I don't want to bogart the whole time. So hey, watch track and field. There we go.
Okay. Anybody else want to hop in next?
I just lowered me. Apparently, I'm loud.
Oh yeah, let us know if that hasn't fixed it, and I'll see if I can lower Honey Money on my side because I did see her making some adjustments when Lampy first brought it up.
You gotta
Yeah.
stop shouting, honey money. You just gotta calm
I'm,
down.
I'm loud. I'm loud though. I'm loud. For Swede, I'm very loud. It ain't changing.
What's
Yeah.
the
We
ain't
average
fixing
volume
that.
of a Swede then? Like, is it like
We're very reserved, and like people are like, think about it in a library, right?
okay?
And that's kind of base level Swede. That's like if you're just out, people are generally pretty like quiet.
Wow.
Imagine the streets
Yeah.
just being like dead, like Silent Hill. Just no noise. Just get this eerie quality to it.
In an office, no, you can hear no one.
Oh
You
my
can just
God.
hear people working, kind of. You can hear people like
Yeah,
kind of
paper
talking,
rustling
but
every now and
they're talking like this. Everyone's talking like this, basically. Not quite whispering, but very loud.
Is it just like an ASMR country thing? Like, it's like we're
Just like
all into this, and we're all
No,
gonna
we're
do
just
it.
very reserved, I think.
Just an
Mm.
entire
don't like-
library.
And I
The
sh-
idea of
I
everyone being
ain't,
into it,
so.
like it's some weird countrywide fetish thing.
Oh God.
No shame.
No. Each their own.
Yeah, whatever you're into. But yeah, anybody want to jump in next? I can go, I guess. I talked about this on Breakout, but that is a different podcast, so I guess it doesn't count.
Totally different.
Immortals of Avium. kind of flying under the radar. A recent release from Ascendant Studios, which is a new studio made of some industry vets and EA's Originals label. It's basically what they've described it as, kind of like Magic Call of Duty. It's a big, bombastic single player campaign, and it is a shooter, but there are no guns. You know, your character is a battle mage, and so he wields all this magic, and most of his magic abilities are kind of equivalent to like different weapons. Like the thing is, all the trailers made this seem kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I was making fun of it when I was seeing those trailers. But after actually playing and like learning about that world and its story and stuff, I got fully invested. Like, I love the lore behind both its magic and like its politics. Like, there's 5 kingdoms that have all, since the inception of their world, which is heavily based around magic, because like magic is just a thing. They've all been at war with each other and like kind of changed alliances, like had different team ups and betrayals or whatever over centuries and centuries and centuries of fighting, all to control magic and like keep it either away from their enemies or to help. It's just this long dramatic history, but it's progressed to the point where there's only really like 2 superpowers left of the 5 kingdoms, and you're like, the character you play is like some kid in a slum in one of those 2 superpowers.
Oh.
And so, since everything is tied around magic, of course, social status is tied around magic as well. Like the noble houses and the kings and queens are all super powerful and have like a lineage of very powerful magic users in their lineage. And the folks who have like little tiny bits of magic, like just fledgling skills or no magic whatsoever, are pretty much the bottom class. But then there's this thing called being an unforeseen, and that's when someone who has like no magical aptitude kind of just explodes with magic out of nowhere. Like it's kind of like going Super Saiyan, like some traumatic event just triggers you, and it's like, all this magic around me, and like it's super dangerous. Like folks are afraid of it because like that sort of power without any training whatsoever can just literally kill and obliterate everyone around you. And apparently that's a thing that has happened several times. But that's what your character is. Like your town gets attacked. Pretty much everybody you know is killed, and then he explodes with magic to like kind of save himself at the end. So he gets drafted.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. He gets drafted into the army of that country that he kind of has been critical of. Like he's been on the bottom of that country's, but like now that he's got this ability, they take him in, they train him up, and now he's a soldier working for Imperials and whatnot. So he's in the mix of like this very, very pseudo-fascist organization, but he has a different mindset because he came from outside of it. So like it's a really cool way to see how he reacts to everything they're doing. He comes to understand some of the stuff they're doing and then push back against some of the stuff they're doing. And then the other country that they're fighting, you get to learn kind of what their reasons are as well. And it's like this kind of push and pull thing where it's like, yo, everybody's kind of wrong, but like I'm in the middle of this situation and I need to do something about it. Like it gets really deep in a lot of cool ways.
Story sounds way more interesting than the actual description of the gameplay, which like
Yeah.
it's a shooter, but it's
Yeah.
particle effect instead of
Like,
bullets.
I feel like it's the Call of Duty tag that kind of sours it in people's minds. But like,
Yeah.
if you remember, like Call of Duty was and probably still is, because I have not played one in a while now, but it's still really good at giving you like a cinematic action, like a led by the nose single player story, right?
Yeah.
And this does that, but it also gives you a little bit of space to do like some exploration in its levels. Like you can find like little secrets and chests, and like there are like challenge rooms off to the sides. Like there's not a ton of it. Like you won't spend like hours and hours like finding a bunch of like side stories and side content, but there's little things here and there that doesn't make it like super linear. And there are puzzles, like really like decent ones as well, where like you have to use certain abilities. You have to like there's nothing like super mind bendy, but it's definitely like fun busy work, I'll say. Like
Yeah.
you'll find a puzzle in the environment and it'll take you like maybe a couple minutes to figure out what you need to do, and then like executing it is fun because you get to use your magic powers in different ways and stuff. So like it's all really well done, honestly. Like it's not revolutionizing anything, but it's a very cool setting. Like its production value is like super high. Like everything looks great, everything sounds great, like it feels good, like to move around and to use the magic and stuff. So like just from front to back, like it was just a really good time, and I was very surprised by it, honestly.
Did you 3MR it or?
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
3 more for it.
I gotta watch that now. Well, not right now.
It makes me want to check it out because like I saw a YouTuber I really enjoy check it out, and like the first things he said was describe the magic in terms of weapons, and then he looted a chest and it gave him a piece of gear with a
Yeah,
gear
there's
score on it,
gear. There's
and
gear
I
in
turned
it.
it off. I was like, I'm done.
Oh.
I'm not touching this.
There is gear in it. Like it's not pervasive, but it's also a sort of thing that they could have absolutely left out.
Maybe I judged it too quick then. Maybe I'll give it another go. The story stuff really interesting. Like
Yeah, like I think you will, especially people who are into like fantasy stuff. Like I think there's a lot to dig into there. Like it has a world with like actual lore, and like it honestly feels like a streaming series in the way like they present it. Like they cast people who are literally from streaming series as well. Like they're actual actors and actresses in it, and stuff that I've watched on
Gina
like
Torres.
Netflix, etc. Yeah, like the main guy. Crap, why am I blanking on his name now?
Steve.
Darren. It's Darren Barnett.
Oh, I was close.
I don't know why I was expecting you to say a fantasy name.
Yeah, I
was
was
like,
really expecting
No,
like
real-
Funny, isn't
Trulion
it?
or
It's not a
something.
fantasy name.
We'll talk because the character that this guy plays that I know him from is from a series called Never Have I Ever. It's like a teen drama about a Indian girl in high school or whatever, right? And he's like her main love interest in like the first couple seasons. His name in that show is so much better than his actual real name. So it threw me as well when I read his name. It was just Darren Barnett. Like this is pretty regular for this dude. But he's really great in it. Like there were a couple people who were talking about like cringy writing and whatnot. There's some of that. Like I feel like this is one of those situations where people are gonna pick and choose like the one or two lines where it's like this was a very sketchy delivery, and it's probably like the line is bad, so like they're gonna read it as best as they can and it just doesn't feel right because the line is bad. But like the game was 20 hours. There's like maybe 3 at most 4 moments where like a line, like a single line is read and it comes off sounding a little off. But that's what they're gonna focus on as opposed to everything else, which is really well done.
Yeah.
Like Gina Torres especially is just really freaking good in that role.
Oh wow, Gina Torres is in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's why I got interested first, but then I saw it and I'm like,
Yeah, I mean it's like a full $70 at launch right now, which
Ooh.
yeah, that's rough,
No.
especially in this games economy. Like there's a lot of stuff out that more people are probably excited for. So like yeah, maybe wait for a sale if anything. But like I do think it's worth your time. Like if you get your hands on it, like it is a fun time. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I can understand the turnoff because looking at this, it looks like good, like technically. Yes, absolutely. But it also is very much reminding me of Godfall, where it's like that oversaturated, colorful, like our entire budget went into the optics, and then there might be a game attached to it.
Well, this is an Unreal Engine 5 game. I think one of the first to just be like, hey, we're launching this Unreal. So like it does look really, really good. And I think Godfall was also Unreal, right?
Yeah, it was.
Like it was like 4 or something.
I think it was 4.
Yeah, so I can get that, like the similarities in the look, but like it is really pretty. But I really like it.
I just
Will
think
in
it
chat.
looks like.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, Will
No,
in
I
chat
was
saying
just gonna say it looks like for fuck.
it looks
Go
like
ahead,
what?
Casey. You're the host.
I just wanted to
shutting up.
point out Will's question where he says that there's a promo for it now on QVC for $39.99.
Oh.
So $40. I think that's a really good
Ooh.
price.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, Honey Money, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it looks like Forspoken, well, with the hand magic stuff. And then I was also, when I saw it, I was like, that's so many particle effects. Is it gonna be like Returnal, where it's just like too many things on screen, you can't see anything?
Yeah, it does have that
Because
issue.
that's also like, ooh.
Like you can definitely get into like a big old haze of magic shit. But like it's like Doom in that way. Like its combat is more similar to Doom, I would say, than Call of Duty. Because you're not shooting everything super far away from you. Like you have to run around and use spells and stuff and get up in people's faces sometimes.
It's whether it feels good, right? Like if it feels good to play. The problem for me with like Returnal, which Honey Money mentioned, was that it was the particle effects were like hiding that it was a very shallow experience, because it didn't feel good to shoot. Like, but if this game, it feels like the game feel is there, and it's like leading to interesting narrative beats. Like I don't really care about gear score or like the comparisons to guns. But you saying about the story stuff really changed my perception on this. But then the price. Oh, it's a bad time to be releasing a new IP for $70.
Yeah,
like
it's rough.
between
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3, Starfield, Sea of Stars. Like it's not great timing.
Yeah, and on that note, I also bought and have been playing Armored Core 6.
Ooh,
So
Ooh.
that's another big one that's been on the horizon. I've been really, really excited for it. I feel like maybe 5 hours in so far, but I've not gotten to the second boss. I've seen a lot of people complain about the tutorial boss, like that big gunship. And like
Yeah.
it took me a couple of tries to beat that thing. There's definitely been way harder From Software bosses, right? Like I'm not trying to like stunt on anybody, but I feel like the difficulty of that boss is being way overblown.
Get good, people.
I had a problem with that boss. I'm
You
one
did?
Of these people.
Okay.
So, I, as everyone will know in chat and obviously in here, I am a massive FromSoft shill. I've made lots and lots of videos on it. Usually bosses, FromSoft bosses, the first ones are a way to teach you how bosses work, and you're kind of meant to lose, and it's there's a reward for you if you don't. This one is not. You get respawned directly outside the boss arena, like if you lose. And I was talking to someone about this. So I made a video recently on like, are Elden Ring's bosses badly designed?
Mhm.
And a lot of it is because you can't really change your build efficiently and like counter bosses effectively in those games. But here you can. If you die, you can assemble your AC again
Mhm.
and reapproach it with different weapons. I'm doing that now on a boss that has a big shield, so I've changed to a weapon that counters his shield, and it's getting easier. Problem with the first boss is you are forced to play a terrible mech.
Yeah,
And
you have like the starting mech.
You have a starting gun and a melee weapon, and the boss is quite difficult. Yeah, it took me a while until I realized that I could just fly at it, and if I used my melee weapon, it would stun it.
I think that is what the thing is. Is like because in mech games, I have always wanted to have a sword. Like I know it's counterproductive,
Yeah.
but like that's always my go-to. When I realized that the starting mech had a gun in one hand and a sword in the other hand, all I did was wait until I could get close enough to use the sword. So
Yeah.
it really didn't take me that long to realize, oh, this is the most effective thing against this particular boss. But I guess if you were like, I'm gonna sit here and shoot at it the whole time.
The thing is like, yeah, your rockets and your gun are really ineffective to it, even after you stun it. And I think the game wants you to melee it, but
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it doesn't do a great job of signifying that. There's lots of buildings in the room, and it feels like you should be hiding behind them while he's doing his gun, like his rocket barrage and stuff. I can understand. I mean, I was one of them. As soon as I realized, oh wait, I can just fly at it, I beat it instantly. But yeah, I think a lot of it's due to the fact that you can't change your build. I think the game might actually be better off if that boss wasn't there, and you just went on and did the other missions, because the boss after that, the first proper boss, it's really interesting. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's going to play it. And there's tactics and there's different ways you can approach it. With this first boss, there's only one way you can feasibly do it, and it seems a little bit counterintuitive.
Right.
That's
So
just
I just got no. I think I understand now, because I probably just got lucky in that the way I wanted to play that game, like since before it was even created, was the way they wanted you to take on that boss.
You nailed it. Whereas I stayed back quite a bit, but then once I realized it all fell into place. It took me a few tries. It didn't take me, like, I saw someone on Twitter said it took them 8 hours to do.
Yeah, like,
Ooh.
but that's
And
what I'm getting at. Like at that point, why aren't you trying all the other things in your arsenal?
Yeah.
Like at that, I'm like, that's like, is that someone who has never played a From Software game before, or is this?
The thing is I don't feel this is very much an Armored Core game rather than like a FromSoft game. I feel like
Sure.
it doesn't really share the same kind of traits that FromSoft are known for nowadays. And I think there are really like specific ways it wants you to do things, and they're giving you the freedom to be able to do that, which I applaud. I think that's a good design. But because it doesn't allow you to have that freedom, for some people it can take 8 hours, which is ridiculous. But most of that is on them, right? Some of it's on FromSoft, but most of it's on like after like the 4-hour
like,
mark.
come on, like, hey, after a while, you have to try something different.
Yeah. I mean, I'm stuck on the boss I'm currently on, and I keep going back and like changing everything. And when that didn't work, I reloaded the mission, bought a load of new stuff, and then retried the mission. And I'm still trying to do it. But yeah, like you also have to use your ingenuity and like brains cells in the boss fight, because I mean I'm a big proponent of saying, hey, the designers didn't do this very well. That's what most of my show is built on, but there's also a point where it's like it's your fault, like
Yeah, I see Tyriel 007 in chat saying AC6 is way harder than any Souls I've played. I played, for me at least. It's stupid fast and twitchy. I like it though, and yeah, I agree with that. But I think it's unlike the Souls games, but I do think it's a lot more like Sekiro in that like combat is different, but in terms of philosophy, like you move quick, you want to close distance, and you want to stagger the enemy. Like it has a posture meter and a posture system.
Yeah, literally. Yeah,
okay.
It's mech Sekiro with guns.
Right. Yeah. So that aspect has changed, but like the philosophy of
Jesse.
Sorry, is that means it should be called Mechiro?
Oh.
Yeah.
excellent. All right. Excellent. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lampy
feel
says
like
that's
I'm gonna
not
have a
true
lot
for
to
later
do.
bosses, Casey. Later bosses will destroy you if you get close.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's fine. Like the thing is, I imagine that if that is the way I want to play and it gets super ineffective, like I am getting destroyed by being close, that's the game teaching me to not get close anymore, which you then need to try and adjust. Like you have the ability, like Jermaine said, to go and like switch up your design. They want you to do that.
Yeah. Sekiro there is one way to play Sekiro. Like there is no other way to do the boss battles. Like that's how you do it. But in this,
true,
like,
but those bosses still teach you how to beat them by destroying you when you try to do the wrong thing.
100%. Yeah. These kind of don't like the more I play Armored Core 6, the more I don't like it. And I feel like when I'm done with it, I'm gonna have a spicy take on.
Okay.
Ooh.
With that
I
on the
won't
back of the
say
box.
too much on it, but
Yeah, I'm not super far into it, but I like initially like I'm really high on. Like I really like the way it feels, and I love the way it looks. Like it's super
cool.
gray and metallic, but like it fits.
Yeah, yeah, they've got the ambience down, so good.
But yeah, I definitely want to put in a lot more time. But that's pretty much it for me. Anybody else want to share what they've been playing?
Honey Money?
You go, Jay.
Okay. I am becoming what I thought I never would, which is a weeb.
Yes.
Ooh.
Join us.
Yeah.
We're
So-
bad influence on you.
So it all started. Well, one of the things I've been doing on the topic of mechs is I'm really getting into building Gunpla.
Yeah, you showed us some of these before. Yeah, look at this joint.
Here's one I built recently. Fucking awesome. High New Gundam. I mean, I don't really watch Gundam, but like these are so unbelievably fun to build. They require no glue, no painting. They come in these massive sheets. That took 11 hours straight to build. And it was great.
You spent 11 straight hours building that?
So basically, I've got loads. I've got a bunch over there. I don't even like the anime, but I love building them. And friends of mine got me into it. And this one's meant to be like the best one on the market. It's like super complicated, super detailed. And a load of my friends were like, "Let's do the nerdiest thing ever, and let's all buy it, and let's have like a Gundam party and build it together." It was the single nerdiest thing I've ever done.
That sounds
But it was
amazing.
glorious. And I'm not joking. We didn't think it would take this long. It took 11 hours.
God.
So yeah, that was a very sweaty room.
So
But-
you were all individually building your own of that?
Yeah,
or
we all built our
that
own
one?
We all built our own high.
Your own one. Okay.
And does anyone watch the anime? 'Cause, I mean, there's
Yeah, they
several
all-
Gundams, so
They
Okay.
all watch it.
because
They,
it would be
like,
funny if no
everyone
one
gets
watched
in
it.
chat to watch it and stuff. I really like I never built model kits as a kid, but like I really enjoy that kind of fiddly, tiny putting pieces together, and you have to like sand all the pieces down so they don't have sprue marks. Well, you don't have to, but I do. But anyway, it's great fun. I love it. So I've been building Gunpla, and I've also started reading a manga series because I found it in a bookshop, and I got like a deluxe edition. I'll show you. I'm assuming you guys have heard of Berserk.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Berserk.
So they do these deluxe
Goddamn.
Ooh.
editions,
Oh.
and I'm not joking.
Fancy.
I've become obsessed. Wait there. So
Oh my god.
Dude.
I fucking love this series.
Like
It's
that
incredible.
that checks out because clearly like Berserk has inspired a
It's
ton.
Dark Souls.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
ton of From Software stuff.
I will say this: Miyazaki is a fucking hack, and has not had an original idea since he was born. There are entire pages and characters ripped from Berserk that are just Souls characters, and like there's a character I sent a picture in a Discord. It was like, who is just Melania from Elden Ring. It's just down to the weapon and the helmet. It's just like it's
Wow.
everything. But yeah, like this series is some of the most brutal,
Yeah.
horrific stuff I've ever read. Like, not down to like, the main character chopping people in half every other page, but like the stuff they go through is like disgusting.
It's pretty
like,
bad. Yeah.
And when I
That's
first
anime
started
for
reading
you.
it, yeah,
Yeah.
when I first started reading it, it was like, this seems like it's being violent for violence sake. But once it got into for anyone who knows it, once you get into the golden age, you start to realize that if you take out all of the horrific suffering that the characters go through, the characters are just really bland, boring kind of characters. But when you give them that history and those experiences that they go through, they become three-dimensional, and like Guts and Griffith and like, oh my god. Yeah, just got through the golden age. I'm out on the other side of that. I think I'm on issue like 16.
Mhm.
Wow.
Because each one of these has 3 volumes in it, and I'm on the 6th one of these. I love it. Probably one of the best things I've ever read.
No, like what you're reading is one of like the most classic baseline pieces of
and I
media
knew
in
that.
like Japanese
Yeah,
culture.
I went into the bookshop, saw it, and it's a really sexy, black leather.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. That whole
Yeah.
thing looks amazing.
And
Yeah.
I was like, I know Berserk is like a classic, and I haven't seen any of it. Historically, the anime and the movies are trash. They can't do.
Yeah.
Berserk
They
in
failed at
anime.
doing Berserk
they've
justice
tried a bunch.
as an anime.
And I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna give it a go, and I don't regret it. But there was this moment. I just got a new issue delivered. I had my Gundam next to me, and I was watching Demon Slayer. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to
Yes.
finish watching Demon Slayer so I can go read Berserk tonight, because I read it before I go to sleep. And I was like, oh no, what have I become? Like, looking at myself in the mirror, I was like, oh.
Like, yeah, you
I
are a
wake up a week.
full on weeb, dude.
Yeah.
Um,
You're
do you
deep
have
in
a
that
face
shonen,
I've evolved.
deep in the shonen swamp.
Yeah,
welcome.
and then I was
Welcome.
been playing
Yeah.
been playing Armored Core, so a Japanese mech game.
True.
But yeah, thoroughly enjoying it. I'm just embracing it. I wish the books weren't so expensive, because I finished them in like 2 hours, and then they're like £40 each.
Mm.
So I have to restrict
Build a
myself
new
like one a
bookshelf
week.
just
that's
for
it.
them.
Yeah.
They're like, friends are telling me, oh, just read them online. Just read them online.
It's
and,
not
like,
the
pirate them.
same.
It's not the same. Like
No.
Yeah.
that new book smell, and like
Mm.
the page turns. Oh, it's crisp. But yeah, I own now Stick Shift. I own 15 body pillows now. I can't enter my own bedroom.
All of
It's
them
just full of
guts.
Berserk manga.
They're
and
all
body
guts.
pillows.
Says Jesse.
Yeah. No, I've got one Griffith. He says,
One
he
Griffith.
says that to me.
I feel like you should have one body pillow that's just the front of the Berserk manga, like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
as a body pillow.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I've it's It's really good. I mean, I kind of want to read more now because I'm partway through that one. But we're having fun here. But yeah, it's been really, really fun.
Wow,
Awesome.
Yeah.
that's great.
So if that does it for you, Jay, Honey Money, what do you have to share?
Uh, I said before we started streaming is I'm watching Bleach season 2, and they're just taking the piss. They're just like I'm on episode 8, which released yesterday, and now Ichigo shows up. He's been gone for 99% of season 2. And it's just like there's a fight in every episode. So because I think they're doing seasons now. So instead of like, oh, we're doing 70 episodes, so they're doing like we're doing 12 season 1, then 12 season. So they're just like pushing things together and just like throwing fights in everything. And I'm like, but what? I don't care now because there's too many fights. Like it's cool and all, fine, but like you get desensitized basically. It's like, oh yeah, and he got his power. And it's like, you show up, oh, but I'm stronger than you. It's just the same over and over again.
Yeah, that
And
the
I'm getting
formula
so
is like
tired of it.
exposed if they're gonna
Yeah.
play it
They're
back to you
showing
over and
the
over.
formulas. It's like singing
Because
some
that
extra.
works. Yeah, because that works in the original because they do it over a long period of time. Like you get the whole montage of Bleach getting Ichigo getting stronger and stuff. Here's just like Ichigo walking in the thing, and then he shows up and he's super strong. And I'm like, but wait, what? Like, what are you doing? Like you're wasting my time.
Is
But yeah,
this is the new Bleach?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Is it like a reboot or is it like a
no,
continuation?
It's a continuation.
it's a continuation.
Yeah, the
It's like
original show
new.
never actually finished its story.
No.
Classic anime.
So they have like they're fighting Quincy's in this one, and they have X amount of Quincy's, which is like, and they have X amount of captains. So it's that thing where they're like, oh, we have this many Quincy's, and they're gonna go up against the captains. So they just like and how many captains are it? 13 or
Yeah,
something?
13 guards.
It's a
And then some of them
lot.
have like lieutenants who are like just as strong, so
Yeah,
they get time to shine as well.
yeah. So it's just like it doesn't work. I don't understand what they're doing. I think it's bad. It's like it's actually bad. Because I'm fine with like average anime, that's fine, but this is like bad to me.
Yeah, like it's making it clear why Bleach wasn't allowed to finish back when it was like a bigger thing. Because I was a really big
Kinda.
fan. I watched every episode.
Yeah, same.
It ran off the tracks a little bit with some of its filler stuff, but like when it would get back to its story, like I was in. But then
Yeah,
if this
same.
is what its main story turned into, I understand why folks like kind of lost confidence in it. But I'm curious like
Yeah.
why they decided at this time we'll bring it back if they weren't gonna do anything to improve that.
I'm just wondering how many seasons they're gonna make, because I don't read manga, because I don't know, I just don't. But because is it gonna be like 15 seasons and then they're gonna build on it? Because so far, like I said, it's just been fighting.
Like there
It's that's
shouldn't be
it.
that much story left though, right? Like because
No,
this
I
is
don't
the
think
last
so.
chapter. Like the Blood War thing
Yeah,
ends Bleach as a story. So
That's
like
why
for them to
there's so much
stretch,
fighting.
I guess.
yeah, I suppose. Like I would have. I just like the idea of them finally finishing that anime because like it was really popular. Bleach was a really big
Yeah,
deal in its heyday.
yeah,
So it kind of just
it's great.
deserved at least to end, right?
Yeah,
But like the it's not a great ending, it seems.
no,
So that is
it's
very
very
disappointing.
disappointing.
So
It
I prefer
is.
they just get it over with as soon as they can. Like I'll watch it just so that I'm done with it, but like I would really hate if they tried to stretch this out at all.
Yeah, but I don't know, because yeah, I don't have high hopes. It's not good, but I'm gonna keep watching it.
Right, exactly. That's how I feel.
Um,
Like when this season's
yeah,
done, I'll go watch it and then be mad at it again.
yeah, because it's just like, and like you said, Casey, before, it's like the Quincy's aren't interesting enemies. They're
Yeah,
just kind
and
of
it's that
boring.
and it's another anime trope where it's like, oh, this thing that shouldn't exist or was dead or whatever is all of a sudden just alive and well. Like for
Yeah,
centuries, Ishida, who's one of the main characters in the show, thought he was like the last of an entire
yeah,
race, and all of a sudden here comes 80 more, and like
yeah,
we were all of us collectively were just hiding from you.
yeah,
It's
pretty
just
much.
weird. It's just weird. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's clear that they're targeting the audience that kind of grew up with Bleach, I feel, because it's so much bloodier, like violent. It's not like gory, but it's just more violent than the original was. So I like that, but also it's just there for shock value because, like I said, if the other things aren't interesting, that's also not going to be interesting.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so, ugh.
Need stakes in that
Um,
fight to make it
yeah.
compelling.
I don't care that you're gonna drop a meteor on like then and then someone slices it and it's like, oh, you send this person to space and their inner just like implode and oh, but they're fine. Oh, they beat the enemy, great. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? So uninteresting. And you did this all in one episode? Are you serious?
Yeah, it's so
Like,
sad.
no.
It's so sad.
It's terrible. So yeah.
Jermaine now
Um,
drastically rethinking his weeb ways.
I just
Yeah,
don't
I'm
watch
like, I'm
Bleach
just
season
gonna
two.
finish Berserk and
Yeah,
then
Yeah.
let's call it a
Yeah.
day.
back into my whole.
No, you're watching
Uh,
Demon Slayer, so you're in it for the long
that's
haul.
true. Yeah.
Well,
Watch
because I
Jujutsu
love
Kaisen though.
because I love Berserk so much. Like when I would watch anime would be like or watch shows, should I say, before I became a weeb. Apparently, is like before I go to sleep. Like I sit at my desk all day every day, so it's like I'll go to sleep and then but watch a few episodes of a show or something. And instead of I started watching Demon Slayer because I was waiting for a Berserk volume to show up.
That's how they get you.
Now I've got my
Yeah.
Berserk. I'm just like I haven't gone back to Demon Slayer. So far, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
You will.
It's
You will go back because once you're done with Berserk, you're gonna need something to fill that void.
Do you think Demon
Hmm.
Slayer is a good void filler for that?
Demon Slayer is great in its own right. Like,
Okay.
so like yeah,
Yeah.
if you're looking for something as that's gonna make you feel visceral like that, Demon Slayer can get you there. I would also say My Hero has its moments.
Okay.
Like there
I
are some
love
seasons
My
are better than others, but like My Hero will definitely like get you that anime high if that's what you're
Yeah.
chasing.
I really, really do like My Hero Academia.
Yeah, it is great.
I'm still on Jujutsu Kaisen. They're on a hiatus, I think, because there haven't been a few episodes in a bit. I think it's gonna be at the end of this, well, soonish. There's gonna be another episode. I don't know why they took like several weeks off, but they did.
Who
Um,
knows? I mean,
yeah, I
it takes work
watched.
to make stuff look that good. That's a real good looking anime.
Oh yeah, it's so good looking, and it like I'm surprised that season like this prequel is so good and interesting because I thought it would be like blah, but it's pretty good. Like I'm super into it. I watched Elemental, which the
Oh
first
yeah.
yeah, the new Pixar Disney, because like oh it flopped
Oh.
first and now it's made more money than Across the Spider-Verse. How the fuck?
How?
How does it diverse? It doesn't deserve that. Apparently, it was huge in South Korea. Elemental did a killing in South Korea. I don't know
Really?
why. Yeah, but it's made more money than Across Spider-Verse, and I don't understand why that should not happen.
Yeah, it does not make sense to me. I did not
No,
like
no,
that
no,
movie.
no. It's like
Elemental?
it took me.
Yeah, I did not like it.
Yeah, it took me 40 minutes to even like try kind of get into it, and then I was like, okay, like I watched it and I was like, yeah, it's fine, but it's not Pixar or Disney like that magic. It's not there at all.
Yeah, it seemed very derivative, the thing is, it is a Pixar movie. Like it's
Yeah,
like Pixar made this movie, but it
yeah,
feels like a very C tier version of what they usually do.
yeah,
Like the first of all, like the premise is just very weak. It's like, okay,
yeah,
anthropomorphic elements. Okay, I'm a fire, or we are fire people. We're a water people, air people, whatever.
yeah,
And the jokes are full on based around just that situation. Like
yeah.
if you're fire, I
Fire and water
burn.
can't be together.
Yeah, like I burn all the stuff around me. Ooh, isn't that crazy? Or water,
Yeah,
I'm soaking this. Oh, my water on this earth person is making his hair grow. Like, oh, isn't that so fun and kooky? I was like, these
yeah,
jokes are very low hanging fruit. And then like
yeah.
their
Yeah.
central conflict, like it's a rom com, which is not terrible. Like that's not a bad thing,
No,
but it's a rom com that's essentially based on interracial dating. And
it
like
is.
every time one of these movies tries to tell an interracial story without using actual race, they mix up all of these different elements that kind of make that tension matter. and like you then lose the message.
Yeah.
Because like she the I can't remember her name, but the fire girl who's the main character, she says a line to the water guy who's trying to date her, who she's in love with, that that he doesn't understand, basically, like where she's coming from, right?
Yeah.
But the way she says a line that a lot of real life people have said to people who don't understand their culture, and it's like the reason you say this is because you don't understand, and like, and you won't ever understand, like you can't understand because of where you come from, etc. Right? And it just doesn't apply to fucking fire and water.
No.
like the sentiment behind someone saying that line, that you will never understand what I'm going through or what I'm talking about, has nothing to do with the fact that you come from fire and that he comes from water.
Mm-hmm.
Because humans are not different elements. Like it doesn't match up, and the fact that they just throw that in this sort of a story feels so hollow and annoying, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like people are being racist against the fire people. That's the whole thing as well. It's like, so they're just throwing a lot of real life serious issues in this movie, but it's like happy, colorful, and it's like fire and water can't be together. Everyone else seems to be fine. Like you have earth stuff and air stuff, and like they're fine, but like fire and water, no. Ooh, fire, they burn things. Ooh, it's like, okay, what's that? And it's about this fire girl that's supposed to take over her dad's shop, and they have a long history. Like it's a long fire culture. They had to flee from their hometown and like go to the big city and start a shop. So it's that thing as well, where it's the honor and like, oh, I have to take over and continue the family traditions, and it's like, it's
she
just
doesn't
a
want to lose
lot.
herself,
Yeah.
like herself and her culture, to like this new metropolis where everything is cohesive, except everything's cohesive but the fire people, who every other element is ostracizing because they're fire and fire burns. But the thing is, fire does burn, so they have a reason to be like, hey, don't go and burn all of our stuff down.
Yeah.
Which is not the same thing as someone who just is a different skin color than you.
But then
It's
there
really-
are
like,
several
I hate
fire
it.
people in that city. Yeah. So I'm because when they like started the shop, I was like, oh, there's like no fire people here. Because when they walk in, like from off the, what was it, like a train or whatever it was, there's just no fire people. But then they open the shop, and there's just like fire people coming in and buying things, sitting down, and like, so there are, I mean, like, so there are fire people. Where are they then? Because it's like they have their own part of town at this. So, but it's just like racism and the dating, and it's like,
Seems like really complex issues done in a
it
shallow
is.
way to try and make it
Yeah.
understandable, but it just stays
Yeah.
shallow.
Yeah.
I guess because it's kind of for kids.
Yeah.
So,
But this
yeah.
sort of thing,
It's an
would
important thing
confuse
to
kids as to
talk about.
what the problem is. Like you
Yeah.
can very easily tell a kid that some people are being treated unfairly for no reason.
Yeah.
And then the kids will be like, they'll answer that question like, well, just don't do that. Treat them the same as everybody. Like that's a really easy thing to understand. When you tell them that the reason is because fire and water will make you evaporate, that actually makes sense. And you're going to be like, well, why would they want to be together knowing it'll risk their lives? Like it's like you're making it more complicated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is more complicated because like the reason people are racist isn't because they think people from another race are gonna combust. And, like, destroy their house.
Exactly.
That is very true. I've never
Yeah.
met a racist who thought that was the reason for their logic.
Right. So it's like it does seem quite, like you said, Casey, more confusing than it needs to be.
Yeah, like this
Right.
is a
Yeah.
very simple, forgive the pun, but it's a very simple black and white situation. It is bad to be ignorant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Right.
do that in a way that can't be misconstrued. Like do that in a way
Yeah,
where that
like when you apply real world logic to like someone's reason to be fearful, like they did it in Zootopia, where it's like, oh, the herbivores or whatnot are afraid of the carnivores, or the predators, I should say. That makes sense because foxes and wolves and tigers and stuff definitely do eat and threaten the lives of rabbits. So it made sense that they were like had this kind of
but
push against
I
them.
feel like when you do racism allegories, I feel making it make sense is the wrong thing to
Yes. Yes, that
Like-
is doing it wrong.
do.
Yeah.
The best example I can give of like a story that you could do that has like undertones of racism and it can teach children is like elves and dwarves. They historically hate each other for different reasons, but Legolas and Gimli learn to, work together and become best friends and stuff like that. And it's like teaching you that like their race has nothing to do with like how they act or like who they are and
Sure.
stuff like that. That's a way that like Lord of the Rings does a better job of tackling racism than it sounds this movie does. Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not great. I really don't recommend it, but it's like it was fine. Like I get what they're trying to do, but I'm also like, so little children are watching this. I don't think they'll understand what's like. I don't think they'll understand at all what's
Yeah, I don't
happening.
think they'll get much of anything out of it. Honestly,
No.
my son watched it. He generally liked it, but like what he usually does is he'll find a way to watch a movie that he really liked over again as soon as he can. Like so he'll like go to YouTube and like just watch clips or the trailer over again if he wants to. He did not do that for Elemental. Like he watched it. He said he liked it.
There
He
you
had
go.
like a commemorative cup or whatever from the theater, but like he kind of forgot about it afterwards.
It's like, I
Yeah.
liked it because you spent money on it.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
it distracted me. It was colorful. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
That's where it
The
is.
song's based.
Oh, I'm also playing Baldur's Gate Act 3. I think I'm several hours in, so I'm like, I started another playthrough before because I'm just like, I don't want this to end. When I started Act 3, I was like, this is another character. I don't want this to end. And then but now I've gone back to it, so now I'm like,
Act
okay, I'm
3's
gonna
really
finish
long.
this. It is, yeah, because that's also what I figured out after starting it. I was like, oh, I have so many
It's
quests
really
already.
long, yeah. I was
So
in a big rush to finish that game. Because obviously I was making a video on it. I wanted
yeah,
a complete opinion. Like, and all of my friends, it baffles me. Every friend of mine, they're all playing multiplayer and their own individual single player games. None of them have got out of Act 1. And I'm like,
oh wow,
Damn.
what? Please,
Yeah,
please
wow.
move on. I literally do not, apart from you guys, of my like close friends that I talk to on the regular, nobody has gotten out of Act 1, and it upsets me because I really want to talk about it.
yeah.
Yeah, I've also not gotten out of Act 1. I've put
Get out of Act 1, dude. It's so
I've
good.
put a very small amount of time into that game. I'm not liking it as much as everyone else is though. Like I don't hate it, but like I'm not like enthralled by it. Like it hasn't like
Yeah.
captured me.
That's fair.
Fair.
No, I'm just and I finished Before Your Eyes both with the blink and without the thing because I have eye
that
issues.
game.
Yeah, I have eye issues, so I can't keep my eyes open that long without blinking because they like start watering because I have like extremely dry eyes. It's the whole thing. So I was just like, oh, fuck, like that was the whole experience. So I missed so much, so I went back and played it without the blink. But I get like it's such a good game. It's so relatable. It's like it's so sad. But yeah, it has so many and it's like a short experience, but yeah, I hope they do more stuff like that. Because it does the blinking adds things for sure. It did add something, even though it was very frustrating, but it did add something. And it is designed so even if you do blink like almost instantly, it's kind of fine. You still get the whole story. Because that's basically, I was like, I almost blinked like almost straight away all the time. So I was like, oh, fuck. But going back and doing it without it also kind of helped, for me at least, because I was super interested in seeing more of the story. So I liked that too. But yeah, that was good. Because yeah, it's so short. So you can do that very easily.
How does the non-blink version work? Do you just like click when you want to or something?
Yeah, it's your
Yeah.
mouse clicks. That's the like blinks.
Okay. So yeah, it really just lets you just see the whole thing, I guess, at that point.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Um,
I've still not tried that game. I want to.
yeah, it's like you
game.
can do it in one sitting without an issue.
I'll be a shill here. Me and Marty did a stream with the devs of
Yeah.
OG
Right.
Design Doll.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
wonderful people, and we get to talk to them about how they made it and why and stuff like that. So go check that
That's
out,
cool.
fuckers.
Well, now that I've been sworn at, I have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it's a command.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, I've seen that stream.
Yeah,
Sick, dude. Me
I was
too.
there. I watch Futurama every Monday, and I don't understand why that show is back. Like, no,
No, don't
I'm
say
sorry,
that.
that's harsh, but it's like it's kind of fine. It's meh. It's just like, oh, let's make a lot of jokes about us being canceled. It's like none of them are funny.
Well,
And
how
then
many
like
episodes are out so far?
4 or 5. Wait, 5.
5. Okay. Because
Yeah,
Futurama has been canceled before, like at least 2
yeah.
times before.
Yeah.
And they do that every time they come back. Like
Yeah, but
they
they also made
comment
a
on the fact that they've come
whole
back.
yeah, but they also made a whole episode about crypto stuff, and I'm like, no one's talking about crypto stuff anymore. So this is just like it feels old. It feels like, hello,
Uh,
fellow kids. It feels
gotcha.
very like that, and I'm
Remember
like,
NFTs?
yeah, it was very much like that. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And it's just fine. It's
Still,
not. It
I don't know. I
it
have
hasn't
faith
made me
still.
laugh
I have faith. I
at
think
all.
they will catch up. Uh, like the last show Matt Groening and company did was freaking Disenchantment.
Disenchanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
last season coming soon, I
yeah,
think.
and that was slow to start too. But then once it got
I don't like that
it's
one.
I mean, there's reasons not to, but I feel like it did have a slow
Yeah.
start, but once it got it once it got itself going, it was really funny. Like I felt like it was every bit as funny as like OG
Oh God.
Simpsons and like Futurama in its prime. But
Oh,
it was a
whoa,
small
whoa,
window
whoa,
because
whoa,
then they went
whoa.
off the rails
OG
again.
Simpsons, Casey. Oh,
Yes.
no, no,
Like
no, 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 no.
I was all in for Disenchantment
Them's
for a
fighting
very
words.
small
Yeah, them's
section of its
fighting
time.
words.
Like it went off the
Because
rails
OG
again
Simpsons
afterwards,
is that's
but
that's
it
up
got really
there.
good at some point.
If it was
Okay.
like at the beginning, was kind of good, and then went off the rails again shortly afterwards, isn't that just a fluke?
It doesn't feel like a fluke. Like,
I mean, like, how good was that spell when it
well,
was good?
it's because like they first have to set up the characters and like they didn't do a great job at that.
Yeah,
But like after
yeah,
you
because I've
spent
watched
time with
season
them,
one.
you
Yeah.
started to get a better taste for like how they behave and like who they were and like how they interact with the world. And then like the world becomes interesting, the characters and their stories in the world becomes interesting. So like they did have to build to get there. So that didn't feel like a fluke. Like it wasn't like one-off random jokes that had nothing to do with the plot that they were
Okay.
building. But then after like that really good part of their story like kind of concluded and had to move on to the next thing just wasn't as interesting.
Wasn't as interesting.
Yeah, so like that's where
Mm.
they started to like fall off.
Yeah, yeah.
But I want to go back because I don't think I finished all of it yet because like yeah, it got really pretty bad at the end. Like I think season 3.
Yeah, I think the last season's coming out soon as well, isn't it? Or
For
is it
I don't know.
I
I'm
think
not
it's
sure.
already out.
Disenchantment?
out.
I think so. I heard something about it.
Okay, I do need to go back then and see if they redeem themselves. But like I'm gonna go back to Futurama. Like Futurama is the thing is Futurama's premise is so much stronger than anything else that team has had to work with. I feel like so like they can very easily just kind of go off the cuff and like make stuff that's
Yeah.
just super good. So like
Yeah,
if they need to like regain their footing because like maybe these are earlier episodes and this show's been gone for like a what like 5-10 years or something at this point.
Yeah,
I will give them that leeway. They've earned it in my mind.
yeah, they've earned it. That's why I'm watching it. But it's like Nick's saying in the chat. It's just kind of there. It's just like it's. I can live without it. Like nothing would change basically for me. But I'll keep watching it because it's easy watching. It's not like I don't have to like stare at it and be like,
Game of
oh my
Thrones
God, what's
reality.
happening? You know. So yeah, it's fine. Finished Life is Strange, remastered, and Before the Storm. Before the Storm is so much better than the first game.
Is that a prequel or is that a sequel?
It's a prequel, Before the Storm, and it's so much more interesting. It's so much like it. The writing is so much better because the first game is like all the Life is Strange games have a bit of this is how we think Americans talk, that kind of thing, and it's very strange sometimes, and it's very cringe a lot of the times as well. And it's like
That's
Before the
pretty accurate for
Storm.
American though.
I mean, because it's made by French people or French Canadian people, so it's like it's a bit strange. yeah, but Before the Storm is so much better, but it's only 3 episodes, and the last episode goes off the fucking rails. They should have just made one extra episode, because
Off-
like the first two made sense, and the third one they just push everything in it, like just things happening, and I'm like, oh, this is a lot.
I
Ghost
got
that, and I don't know.
Okay, I have a question. Sorry, I think this is going to be some major spoilers for that game series. People haven't played it, including me. What do you mean by
I'm not
off the
gonna play
rails?
it.
Because isn't the first one, doesn't it end with like freaking time travel and like being psychic or something?
Yeah, the first game is like Max has for some reason time powers, so she can like rewind time and stuff. It's
Yeah.
that also the ending of that is kind of like it deals with some serious issues and like some bad stuff. But the third episode, like, okay, so Before the Storm is about Chloe and Rachel. Rachel is the girl that I mean, this isn't like she's missing in the first game, so it's not really like a spoiler. Like you get there's like missing posters of her everywhere, and people talk about it, so it's not like a big thing. But because in the first game you find out what happens to Rachel, but in the prequel you obviously find out what happens because Chloe knows Rachel, and Chloe's in the first game as well. Um, so Chloe and Rachel kind of have this thing going on. They're either besties or like lovers, basically, or like yeah. Um,
Same
and you
difference.
just find out. Yeah, I mean, I think you can choose, but I'm not sure, kind of. Um, so, and it's a okay, I don't. It's a whole thing because Rachel finds out that somewhat spoilers, I guess, because you
I,
kind of feel like you find
I
out
say
this
go
out
for
pretty
it.
quickly. Yeah, it's just like she finds out that her mom is not her mom, and like her old like her real mom comes back, her biological mom comes
Hmm.
back for her, and she used to be like a heroin addict and stuff, so it's a whole thing about that. And then there's a bad guy because Chloe like takes drugs and buys drugs from this guy like Frank, and he's kind of like a small time dealer. He's not really that bad, but then Frank has this friend that looks like a fucking vampire, like a and he's a bad guy. He brings like knives and stuff, and it like in the third episode, it just goes off the rails. Like I'm not gonna spoil that, but I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like we went from what happened? Because like they just needed like one more episode to like pad it out a little bit because
Uh
the
huh.
pacing was completely off when we got to the third episode. I was like, what the fuck? Like I got really because I really liked the first 2 episodes. I was like, I'm super into this. This is great. This is so much better than the first game. And then we get to the third episode, and I'm like, this is a bit much. This is too much all at once. You can't do this. Like it makes no sense. Just make like an extra episode. They should have done that, but they didn't. And then for some reason, the bonus episode is even further in the future, or like in no, in the past. Which also I don't like when games do that. When
Like they
they're
can't they
like,
can't move forward. Instead, they're continuously building up more
yeah,
backstory.
yeah, I don't like because it would have made more sense to put that first, and then I continue with Before the Storm. But the bonus episode is when Max and Chloe are children. Max is the like protagonist in the first game, and she moves away from Chloe. And then the first game is her coming back basically to the town.
Uh huh. That's
Um,
weird.
but yeah, so it's very strange to go from this big thing you played Before the Storm and like it went the fuck off the rails in the third episode, and that's just the end. And then you're just going back again, but even further back when they're kids. And I'm like,
Yeah, that sounds like
I
they don't have like more story in mind to like
no,
continue it. So instead, they're just building out like the history. Like if they've alluded to
yeah,
something in these characters' past, they can just spend time and flesh that out to buy them time to actually think of what comes next, if
yeah,
there is a next, is what that sounds like to
because
me.
yeah, because that's also something early on in the first game. It's like Chloe's dad died in a car accident, so that's what that bonus episode is. It's that day when they find out that he died. And we've seen that in the first game. So it's just more of that. And I'm like,
Right.
I know this. I don't need to know more of this. Like it's fine. I get it. They played out in the yard and this the whole thing. It's like but it's supposed to be this kind of heartwarming thing, like they're really good friends. But also Max hasn't told Chloe that she's moving away, but Chloe knows anyway, and it's the whole that thing. But I'm like, they just did it in a weird order, didn't pace it right. But the first 2 episodes of Before the Storm is really good,
All right, got
Like
it.
that's
Played-
I guess.
I feel like that's sometimes a thing where it's like if the story doesn't seem interesting enough, it's like, well, let's change the way it's presented, and then that will add interest. Versus like
Yeah.
building a story to be experienced in a non-linear fashion,
Yeah.
and like
No,
but
I
that's
don't.
part of it.
Yeah, I don't know what they thought. Cause like, yeah, it's just it feels off when you play it. That's the thing. It's just like this doesn't make any sense. You just go like, what is this? Like you get kind of like taken back. But yeah, and then just Oxenfree. Oxenfree is really good, but it's also strange because they talk so much, and then you kind of have to go back, like you have to backtrack a little bit sometimes,
Yeah.
and then
I
there's
couldn't
just
stand it.
silence,
Yeah,
and there's just silence, and I'm like, so there's no talking here, but there's been talking this whole time, and now there's just quiet.
I hate
I could
Oxenfree.
not stand Oxenfree. I hated it.
I hate it, but it led me to getting a job at The Escapist. So thanks, Oxenfree.
Nice.
Hey, wow, so it's good for something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. My partner was playing that, and I was watching her play it, and we were both like, "People like this? Like, what is?"
I like it, but I also like because it's a short experience. Because if it was longer, I would not like it. But it has some creepy stuff. It's cool looking, but it also this just I don't really like any of the characters except the one you're
Yeah.
playing. That's the thing. That was a bit
Yeah, I
of
found
a
most
bit
of
of
them
a
insufferable.
bummer. Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
that was our issue. I remember because you did a review of that first Man of Medan game,
Yeah.
and we played the co-op, and we were both like, can we get all of them killed?
Yeah, can
like,
we
that
try and
was
kill
our
everyone?
Yeah.
goal.
And that was really fun.
Yeah, because it's like these people are insufferable. Like, sure, there's pirates that want to murder us, but like,
Yeah.
I mean,
But-
are they really worse?
But that seemed built for that, right? Like it's trying to emulate B movie horror where
Yeah.
all the teens are dickheads, and so they justified that. They justified their deaths with the fact that they were unlikable dickheads. So like
Everyone's just
that's what they were
cringe in
going for.
Man of
So
Medan.
it kind of worked.
Everyone's very like they play a stereotype in Man of Medan, and everyone's very cringe. But like that's just the Dark Pictures games overall, which is weird because like they're all bad. They're all pretty bad. I love them though, but they're bad. Like they're that kind of bad. But because they also made The Quarry on the side, which is not Dark Pictures, but it's the same studio. But
Oh,
they just
really?
made that as a side thing. I don't know if it's the same like part of the studio, but that game's good. That's a good game. So I don't know why the Dark Pictures is so bad
Yeah,
because
and-
they're terrible.
they also made Until Dawn, right?
Yeah, but that was the first one that kind of launched it. So Until Dawn is also good. I have played it, but I've seen it like several times. So Until Dawn and The Quarry are good. Dark Pictures, the end is not good. So I don't know what they're doing with that. I don't understand.
I feel like Dark Pictures is intentionally not good. like the story is not good because they want you and your friends to like mess around in it. But I don't know. I had a good time playing those games when I was playing those games with other people. Like when we did Man of
Yeah.
Man with Jesse, and then when I did the second one, Little Hope, with my fiance. Like we had a good time. Like basically pointing out how absurd some of the situations were and like how dumb some of the twists ended up being. Like that's what made it fun, I think. And I don't know.
Well-
That felt intentional to me.
Yeah. but
Y'all
that's
need to
like
play House of
character, right?
Ashes or Asses, as I call it.
Some asses.
I mean, because it's like it's the American stereotype war because it's like we're in war, so it's that kind of military American stereotype. Everyone's like that, and I'm like, ugh. I hope everyone dies. Everyone sucks.
See, that's probably what they were going for.
Yeah.
But okay, we'll move on to our first topic, which I didn't realize how much time had passed. But
This happens every time.
it does.
Casey.
It does.
It happens
Yeah.
Every time.
It's my fault.
You need
I
a
love it.
timer that goes with a loud after a set
And
amount.
play
and be like, well,
play
we're done.
someone off, like
Yeah,
have an
Stop talking about
orchestra.
Berserk, Jay, move on.
we'll figure something out. But we'll go into it. We shouldn't take a ton of time on this because it's pretty small announcement with a little bit of information. Sony's PlayStation Portal handheld. You guys have probably seen pictures of it. It's pretty much a DualSense controller with a massive flat screen in the middle of it. This thing apparently does not have internal hardware of its own.
No.
Really, like it's just a streaming peripheral for the PS5.
Yep.
So like it connects to Wi-Fi. Your PlayStation 5 has to be on Wi-Fi, and then you can play the stuff that's on your PlayStation 5. Does not work with Sony's subscription streaming service, however.
So I can only be
weird.
portable in my own house.
Well, some people are saying that it works over Wi-Fi. So like if you're on Wi-Fi outside of your house, you can somehow connect back to the PlayStation in your house.
Historically, train Wi-Fi is very good.
Which like people are saying that. I feel like that has never worked or been like a real thing that these companies have gotten right. So I don't see how that's an actual thing.
Like I bought a Steam Link so I could play my computer games in the living room just to be a little bit easier and like for fun stuff. And even that hardwired in still has noticeable latency issues. At like made it so now it's just a box of plastic that I am trying to get rid of. Like it's not usable.
Right.
I don't know how. I mean, that was also made several years ago. Maybe their Wi-Fi is better, but like, I'm not convinced that that's going to be truly playable.
I just don't see the point. Like,
No.
who's going to be in their own house and be like, I've got my PS5 set up, it's on, connected to Wi-Fi, and is on the screen, but I want to go sit somewhere else. It's not like two people can use it. Like, your child can play on the PS phone.
It's a way for you to second screen your PS5. So like the one and only use case I keep hearing about this is like you have a significant other or a child who is watching TV where your PS5 is hooked up. So this is an option for you to play your game elsewhere in the house without having to buy a second TV. But it's like,
but it also doesn't have
Just spend
Bluetooth.
that
What's the
$200 on a
point?
TV.
yeah, $200 on a TV would honestly be a better investment.
Yeah.
Not this
Also-
big.
Also, this is
What are you doing?
like, how is this different than the Wii U?
It's not. It is fundamentally not different than the Wii U.
Famously failed.
There's
What?
one difference with the Wii U, that games were interestingly designed to incorporate the Wii U's thing into the experience. This is just a TV in your hands.
Yeah.
A dumb, tiny TV in your hands that you can't use
But
outside
it's
of your own
cheap.
fucking house.
That's the selling point. It's cheap. But
Like
it doesn't have
I don't know if I
Bluetooth.
could say $200 is cheap.
Well, for compared to other because they're trying. I feel like they're trying. You know, the person who doesn't look into it too much. It's like, oh, some PlayStation portable, $200.
Right.
I'll get that. You know.
Because like it's the same price as a Switch Lite, but a Switch Lite is a full console. So it's like
The whole point of it is it's a scam, right? It's trying to
Yeah. No, but it kind of
scam
is
people out of
because
money.
because people don't know. Like, it doesn't have Bluetooth. You will have to buy the Sony fucking things, and they cost $200. So you're
Yeah.
up to $400 now.
Sony's
Yeah, like,
proprietary
how much is-
earbuds.
But this is the thing: you have to own a PS5.
That
That
as well.
too.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if you're like in the portable market and you have your choices are Switch, Steam, what the fuck is it called?
Steam Deck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Steam Skateboard, and and this, right? This one requires a PS5, which not a lot of people own because they're like, if you've got a PC, they're paperweights. And you can't. The Steam Deck and the Switch can be used portably, not connected to the internet,
Mhm.
and you can just use them anywhere. So, like, for example, I go on a lot of like long trips to like work on doc shit for The Escapist.
Mhm.
Nick, like Omar and me, we all have a Switch or a Steam Deck. What am I going to do if I'm like in Canada, message my housemate and be like, "Oh, please, can you turn on the PS5 because I'd like to play Oxenfree." And then it's like at 1 FPS and the latency is 2 weeks because it's going across the Pacific.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
like-
it seems really bad, and the price seems really high for what they're offering. And yeah, I am honestly baffled as to why they would do this. Also, what is the price of PlayStation VR? Is that like 400?
yeah, I think so.
Okay, so that I feel like is too high for a peripheral for a console that already costs almost as much as that. So for them to offer another peripheral at this price is basically Sony once again just showing you how far ahead they are in the market because they feel like they can get away with this sort of BS. Like, will this sell? I don't know. But like, I have seen people be genuinely excited for this thing. And I'm like, I don't know
Yeah.
what you're going to do with it.
I think
I
Honey
think-
Money
oh, go ahead.
struck it. It's like I just don't think those people know what it is.
Yeah.
They're
It
just
looks
like,
cool.
yeah, it's the Switch killer, but you can't use it properly.
No.
Like, I think the main issue is the whole Wi-Fi thing. It's because there are so many situations where you can't use it, and those are the situations I want a portable console. While I'm on a train, while I'm on a long journey, while I'm on a plane, right? Like, that's when I want my Switch. That's where I want my Steam Deck. I mean, I don't have a Steam Deck, but this isn't going to be able to do that. It's just going to be an extended DualShock controller with a TV in it that I can't use when I want to use it.
Lord references you can kill a Switch with it by clubbing it to death. I'm not so sure. I think the Switch might be a sturdier built thing than this than this PlayStation Portal. But like I want to compare it to kind of what Xbox has in terms of like streaming options. And like Xbox does not have a bespoke device. They just use your phone or a tablet or whatever, right? And you can just use the Xbox Game Pass app to just use cloud stuff. And that does have the capability to either remote to your console, the same way this Portal thing does, and to use their cloud gaming stuff. So that you can stream from wherever you're at and just play a game from their cloud service. Sony also has a cloud service, but it's just not a factor in this. And like, I don't know if that's a thing that they can maybe add later, because I feel like that would dramatically increase the value if you could play your PlayStation Cloud library wherever you're at with this thing. But like, is it that they know that it's terrible, or that or that they just like I can't understand the reasoning for this.
Oh, Labby says you can already remote your PS4 to your phone.
Yeah, you can.
Probably, yeah, because that was a thing you could do with the Vita. Like you could play
yeah,
your
the
PS4
stream.
games on your Vita.
Yeah, Stick Shift was just mentioning that the PS Vita, the PlayStation TV, and all that. Where you could just send it to it. Maybe they're trying to redo something like that. I feel Lampy brought up that like it would be useful in, well, if I just want to go and play my PS5 in bed, I would have to get the PS5 into my bedroom and have a TV in there where it's like, yeah, okay, I'll just play this before bed. Like the very specific situation of I just want to play it somewhere else in my house where I don't want to have it permanently set up is a valid thing. I
But is
don't
it
know
worth
how
$200?
that's I don't know how that's a big enough stretch of people
Yeah, is
with
that a good
disposable
selling
income
point?
that want that.
And if you want to not disturb your partner while you're in bed with it, you need to spend another $200 for the earbuds.
Yeah.
Does it
Oh
not
my
have
God.
just a hard line?
I'm not
Ear
not
jack?
sure if it has
I think
a jack.
Rapo said it has a jack, but I don't know if I own any cord.
Yeah, like when
headphones.
when the
Like,
story came out, I realized I no longer have like wired headphones. Like I mean, these ones I can stick a wire into, but I'm not putting
all
these on in
Bluetooth
bed.
I don't
the-
even
am I
have
the-
wires to these.
Oh my gosh, am I the only one who prefers wired stuff? Like my keyboard, my headphones, I don't like wireless if I can avoid it.
Oh, I love
No, but
wireless.
stuff like that.
what
But
it is.
headphones, I want wireless because I'm
Headphones
moving
are
around all
wireless.
the time.
Oh,
Like,
give me-
Yeah,
I need
mouse
this
wired,
cord.
keyboard wired.
This is my
I don't
safe.
have to
I need
recharge
it.
anything.
I can't go into the kitchen.
I'm okay with that. Sometimes I need to stop listening.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
This just seems like a really terrible idea. I'm curious to see how it sells when it's like
Yeah.
fully released. But I hope it's bad because Sony needs to get kicked in the teeth for these constant terrible decisions in terms of like hardware and proprietary BS.
I think Sony are on their way. I think they're on their way to getting the massive teeth kicking. Like with everything Xbox is doing, like Xbox have been coming out with wins idea wise and like everything with Game Pass for years. Like maybe some of the games they're publishing haven't been great, but the actual business decisions have all been like, yep, that's the future. Like this is it. They're just they're ahead of their time.
And that's why, you know, like I'll root for them to kind of get a leg up in a lot of these situations where Sony just continues to kick ass because their games just carry that much more cachet.
Yeah.
But like that brings along with it this hubris that lets them think they can get away with this kind of garbage.
Well, I don't think it's like they feel like they can get away with it. There must be someone extremely high up at Sony who genuinely thinks this is a good idea and is like, this is going to be the new Switch. And it's like, everyone who owns a PS5 is going to get one of these. It's going to be killer. Or they're just like, actually, Danny, who wants to play thingy in his bed, he wants to play God of War in his bed, it's worth it that we manufacture these in the millions for that type of person, which is weird.
Well, it's also if it's like, hey, this is a completely luxury item. Like you do not need this. This is a peripheral. If we can manufacture these for $40 and we sell them for 200, like it's worth it for the amount that we think we're going to sell, even though it's going to be low, because the markup is high enough, because the people who want this are the people who have that sort of scratch lying around.
Yeah.
So Sony are targeting whales.
Pretty
much. It's hardware for whales.
Yeah, hardware whales.
I mean,
Mech whale.
Like the premium luxury, like that's definitely where Sony wants to be. That's pretty much where they are. Like that's how they price their stuff. That's how they treat their products, is as if they are in that sort of Apple camp. And they emulate a lot of their decisions based on like what Apple does, which is kind of the same thing. Like just price gouging their user base. But I mean, anything else on this, or we can move on to our final topic and close things up. I know we're running.
Just interesting to see how the numbers when it comes out.
Yeah.
Also, I'm gonna say saying this, I think I know. I have a friend of mine who would probably buy one of these because he's got the money and he could be like, well, yeah, my PS5's in the living room on the bottom floor. So
well,
like,
there
sometimes
you go.
I want to play it in bed.
Sony wins again.
Yeah.
But moving on, Sony's bitter rival, Microsoft, still has not closed every avenue of their acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Their latest scheme, we'll call it, to appease the CMA, who has been blocking them in the UK region, or the EU region? EU, right? Not UK.
It's UK.
UK, sorry.
UK,
It's the UK.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because, famously CMA said that they weren't going to allow this because of the potential monopoly on cloud gaming, right? That was their big holdout. Microsoft has now said that they will license the rights to all cloud streaming services to Ubisoft. So Ubisoft will be in control of what companies get access to Activision online licenses for the, like, not online, but like cloud services. And Ubisoft will be able to offer all those Activision titles on their own Ubisoft Plus platform as a cloud streaming service,
which goes through Xbox now anyway. Like,
well, like
Xbox
Ubisoft Plus
Game
can
Pass
be
has a
packaged
stranglehold on EA and Ubisoft, like, because you can play Ubisoft titles through Xbox Game Pass, right?
No, Ubisoft Plus is still
just EA that you can do that.
Yeah, EA Play is wrapped up in Ultimate, but
Okay.
Ubisoft Plus is still a separate thing that you would have to subscribe to.
Oh,
So this is their latest plan, essentially, to appease the CMA and say, like, hey, look, in this region, like outside of the US, we don't control who gets and who doesn't get access to cloud streaming. Ubisoft
don't
does.
Tell me.
So will this be enough to have you close the deal? And it looks like they're going to deliberate on this at some point in October. But I'm curious, how do you guys feel about this play? Like, is this a good idea? Like, is there a benefit to this? No. Okay, Jesse's like, no, it's a bad idea.
Big no, specifically because I'm British. Like,
British.
I don't want you to take offense from this. but the launcher for Ubisoft stuff is not ideal,
No.
and it's not my preferred thing to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was a big fan of, like, my Overwatches, my Diablos, my World of Warcraft, and stuff like that. If all of the Activision stuff goes to a launcher that I don't like just in the UK, I'm gonna get bullied. I'm gonna go to the office and people are gonna bully me. They're gonna say, "How was your time opening World of Warcraft, mate? Did it take you 2 weeks?" And I'll be like, I can't say it. It's true.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
Yeah, I feel like that is a purposeful play. There's two things out of this. One, absolutely purposeful play to go, oh, well, we're not going to do it. We'll let them deal with it, and then
Yeah.
give it to the people who have like a famously disliked launcher, so that when enough people complain about it, they could be like, well, we tried, but really it's just the consumers that wanted everything in
Hold on, I wanna-
one camp. Are you gonna try to defend the UB launcher?
No. No, absolutely not. But I wanna clarify. I don't know per se if this plan is that Ubisoft has a launcher that handles all this cloud stuff. What I've read, I remember saying that Ubisoft essentially licenses the rights back to Microsoft. So like Ubisoft is the one who gets to decide who.
This is just a roundabout way of.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
The thing is, Microsoft is not the one in control. So like Ubisoft, which they probably would not, because that's probably contingent on why they get this privilege or this right. Ubisoft, like Microsoft, has basically given the rights to Ubisoft in the UK to license out who can stream those titles. So Microsoft would have to go to Ubisoft and pay them in order to stream the stuff that they gave them.
But what if Ubisoft just go no?
They could essentially, right?
Yeah.
But why would they?
All of their games
Yeah.
on their own, they stream it from their launcher. That's
They
what it has to
they
do
could
with.
essentially do that essentially, but
And what's
but
stopping them,
they wouldn't
right?
do that. Is the
Why?
hope? Because
Why wouldn't they?
because now they have an in with Microsoft, right? Like
Yeah.
to be fair, Microsoft and Ubisoft are both companies that generally play nice with other companies.
Yeah, that is
Like
true.
they don't act super adversarial.
They don't want to step on each other's toes.
Right.
But it'd be funny if they did.
It would be very. Oh my God! Can you imagine if Microsoft all of a sudden is holding it back? Like
It's
Ubisoft
like-
just
it's
turns
like,
around and says, "I don't think I will license these games back to you, Microsoft."
No, but I
Oh my
feel they
God,
must have already talked about it for them to have
Right? Yeah.
suggested
And
it,
this
right?
was like a big surprise, right? Like I probably shouldn't say this, but internally we got an email from Eves that basically, when this was announced on like Twitter and stuff, an email went out company wide to basically say like, "Hey, this thing is happening. We'll have more information for you in like a couple of
Yeah.
weeks," because nobody knew anything about this. This seemed like very spur of the moment, or like somebody had a brilliant idea. It was like, "Oh, call Eves. Let's see if he'll go for it." Like, I don't know.
Maybe it's just like a situation where Microsoft were just looking around and they're like, who isn't a direct competitor here? Like, in this space, right? Who isn't that? And they've just gone, well, Ubisoft are doing good things. We could very easily just call them up and say, hey, we're having some UK problems because the UK people hate Monopoly, the game. And you say,
As they should.
yeah. And they just go, all right, well, we've got some bullshit here. We will pay you 20 million per game you license back to us. It's literally free cash in the UK. Are you cool with that? And they're like, well, you're going to be licensing hundreds of games from Activision Blizzard. So, yeah, sure. And then they just
Yeah.
go free money, and then they solve the problem.
Yeah.
So
Probably that's the simplest, that's the simplest one.
Yeah.
So I think that might be it.
So it solves Microsoft's problem of like,
Yeah.
oh, look, we're trying to play nice, but truly it is solving nothing because they are still in control over everything because the person they're cutting a deal with to do this is still in their pocket, essentially. Because they would
Right.
not have done this deal if they hadn't worked out with Ubisoft. Here's the game plan of what we're going to do.
Of
And they're
course.
like, sounds good. We like money.
But honestly, this whole stoppage is based on what? That Microsoft would be a monopoly for cloud in the UK, which was a flimsy argument from the beginning, right? Like the
Well,
market's
no,
not
because
big enough.
They would be, because nobody can compete, right? Like, I would go as far to say that Microsoft are on their way to being the monopoly in the gaming space. Like, if they acquire fully Activision Blizzard,
Mhm.
huge publisher, absolutely gargantuan. Microsoft, Activision Blizzard, like, they've already got EA in their pocket. Like, it goes directly through Game Pass. It's just a matter of time before they went for Ubisoft, and then, you know, they just cripple Sony because they have the monopoly. So I'm not just saying this because I'm British. We kind of have a point on, like, this could get out of hand.
But okay, so the CMA is talking about cloud though. Like what you were talking about is just full on.
Oh yeah, I think it's just bullshit. Like, they're just like, well, they've kind of got a monopoly on the cloud now because, like, Stadia's dead, and, like, Sony aren't really doing anything. And if you look at the percentages of onages in cloud, Microsoft are way ahead of anyone. So it's the only way they can kind of say no, stop this now, because that's where we are. The theoretical, you know, Microsoft having the monopoly over, like, game sale is, you know, could potentially be a thing in the next 5 years if they keep doing what they're doing. But right now they do have that. Do you not agree that they don't have a monopoly on the cloud space?
I think like on the cloud space isn't big enough for that to count. That's like no one is using that service in enough numbers.
I would, okay, maybe not,
Mhm.
but I would say that is a terrible and dangerous argument to make, because you could be like, yeah, in 2000, be like, look, yeah, Brisbane Corp has the monopoly on DVDs, but who has a DVD player? It's not that big a thing right now. Like, that stuff is moving towards a lot of streaming, and it's going to take a massive shift to make that not where we go.
Yeah.
So to say it's not a big deal now is to completely disregard that it's going to be a big deal unless something major happens, and that we need to plan for that and be aware of that in deals now.
But then this solution still addresses that in that case, because it's not Microsoft who gets to decide who can stream the stuff. It's Ubisoft. So, like, yes, Microsoft pays Ubisoft to get their stuff back, and they can do all the cloud stuff that they want. But if Sony goes to Ubisoft and says, hey, we'll also give you money since you hold the rights to license it, Ubisoft is not going to say no because that's extra money. Right? And then, like, any other company who jumps to the thing, Ubisoft can then license it out to them as well. Huh?
Yeah. That's where Activision Blizzard are now anyway, right? They release their titles on both Xbox and you know, PlayStation, because they are their own distributor, like their own publisher. Right. If Microsoft take them, they're gonna do what they've done to Bethesda and stuff like that, when they're like, it's only on Game Pass wait, is Starfield on PS5?
Yes.
Good.
Wait, no.
Yeah, I was like, is it?
Starfield? No, Starfield.
I don't think it is.
No.
Okay, so
that's a new IP.
This is the thing, right? Like, if they fully owned Activision Blizzard, they take all of their IP and bring it to Microsoft Game Pass and on their consoles and stuff like that, and then they suffocate their competitors because they have. It wasn't a thing like back in the day. Let's say before Game Pass and before Microsoft started buying everything, it was an idea of like the console wars were a discussion on like who had better games, and better exclusives and stuff like that. Now that is like the only argument for like PlayStation, because there's so many games they don't have because it is PlayStation, right? Like, it's dangerous. It is getting into such a dangerous place. I'm with our weird British lawyers that are saying no. Something needs to change. I don't think this is the solution.
No, it's not the solution at all. This is
No.
worthless. But
I kind of disagree, and it's not because I work for Ubisoft. I want to put that out there. I don't think this is a worthless play. Like, it gives an entirely different company who's been outside of this battle between Microsoft and Sony a say. And Ubisoft has a history of playing on every single console. Every single time there's a new console release, Ubisoft is like, we're putting something on that console. That's just what they do.
I'm
So if there's a brand new shaky cloud service out in the universe and Ubisoft has the rights to license it out, you bet your ass they're gonna license it out because that's what they do. That's what they've always done. Like that's how I see it. Like they have a history here.
They have done it because it's financially
Yes, and this is
useful.
also financially
And if
viable for
they're-
them. Yeah,
unless Microsoft pays them enough to be like, don't, and they go.
but that's
"All
not.
right,
But that's
cool."
not what's going on here. Like Microsoft is giving them the rights. So like Ubisoft gets the rights there. Microsoft has to pay Ubisoft to get it back. Not to get it
that
back,
is- that is-
but to
Sony
release
has to
stuff
pay
in the
them to
UK.
get the rights for it as well.
That is
I'm
the
assuming.
most.
Yeah, like Ubisoft has the rights. So like the same way Microsoft would have to go through Ubisoft to release cloud stuff in that region, everybody else would also need to do that. Sony,
For those games.
Amazon, yeah, for any Activision Blizzard games, yeah.
Yeah, but
Like, that's how this
Ubisoft's
is
not
supposed to
gonna
work.
just go against Microsoft and burn that bridge. So if Microsoft
think
wants one thing,
that
and
is the
they'll be
reason why
like,
this
"Hey, we
exists,
want
though.
this." No,
I
but
think
do
that's
we
the reason
want
that
this?
exists. I don't think Microsoft can tell
I-
Ubisoft to
I don't-
not license it to other people. Like
No,
that, like
I don't
that
think-
would be.
I just think
Enough
Ubisoft
money stops them.
won't burn the bridge. That relationship, they will be careful with that relationship. That's the thing.
That's
It's
but that's
still
what I'm
gonna
saying.
be a
Like-
consideration.
Like again, I don't know this, but like Microsoft wants this deal to go through. I don't
Yeah.
think part of that deal includes making sure Sony can never get access to
Yeah,
Activision Blizzard stuff in the UK. Like I don't think that's contingent. So like all they need is for someone else to be holding those rights so that the CMA can get off their back about having a cloud monopoly. So if Ubisoft decides we're gonna sell this to Microsoft, we're gonna sell this to Sony, that's not something Microsoft I think is gonna give them heat over, because it solved the issue that they wanted from the first place, was to just close this deal worldwide. That's my take on
Over
it.
time, I think it
What-
definitely. If
See,
they
the
keep
question
doing
is-
it, I think they will.
What happens if this doesn't go through? Is it they just
If
can't
the
sell
CMA comes up with
Activision
another
Blizzard?
reason,
Well, because the thing is the end of this if they never come to a deal? Say if the Brits dig our heels in, which we're famous for. let's say that happens. What is the outcome? Is it that Activision Blizzard and Microsoft games just can't be sold in the UK, or the entire Activision Blizzard deal is just crumbled and they can't do it?
I don't think
Can
they'll
one
crumble the
country
whole
stop that
deal.
entire deal? I don't think so.
Say again.
I don't think one country objecting can completely negate a deal that was
Yeah,
made.
I don't think so either. I think this is what
No,
they're looking at.
I don't think so either.
It's either everything moves on without the UK, and that ends up looking bad for the CMA, which
Yeah.
and honestly, Microsoft doesn't want that, because like that's a big market that they would just miss out on in that regard.
It's a pretty big market, yeah.
So like they do want to come to some understanding, but the CMA,
Yeah.
I think they can't look like pushovers. Like they have to make them work for it. And I don't know, this feels sufficient enough. If they push back again with this, I do think Microsoft will try and come up with something else as opposed to just
They
still
will.
closing. But yeah, like this can't go on forever, right? Like the CMA at some point, because like they didn't just say no. They said they objected on XYZ grounds. I don't think, like the way this works, I don't think they can come up with a new reason after Microsoft tried to appease the old one. You know what I mean? At some point, the thing they complain about, if Microsoft does enough to solve it, they have to like meet there.
I feel like this could work. The problem is just it's gonna cause so much potential issues in the future because
Yeah.
yeah, everyone's happy now, but like that can turn very quickly, right? Due
Yeah.
to like structure, who's in charge, how certain games are doing, like how the industry's going, which means they could cause a lot of problems, rights wise. But then it's just for cloud streaming, right? Not for physical sales. Say Activision Blizzard, the new Call of Duty game, it's not like they have to go to Ubisoft and say, can we release it in the UK? Like, can we release physical copies in the UK? It's like it's just the cloud
Yeah,
streaming.
this is just for cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so petty. It's also petty.
It's petty, and it's also worthless. I disagree hard that this is going to solve anything, because like,
Well,
if you like
solve
should be-
what? Like solve Microsoft's bid to acquire, or solve the issue of
The
monopoly
the
that
monopoly.
the CMA has?
Right.
Okay.
Because like if I'm in Microsoft's place and I'm like, oh, Jamate, you're British, you're Ubisoft. Hey,
Yep.
look, why don't you do this for me?
All right.
But every time I want you to do something that really helps me, I'll give you $20.
Go on then.
There we
Go
go.
on then.
All
Free
right.
money.
I'm no longer I don't have the monopoly. However, the person who controls my not monopoly is in my pocket. Like we have a deal outside of this.
That the way you describe that deal, I don't think is how it functions. It's more so if Jamate is Ubisoft and you are Microsoft, Jamate, like once this deal is closed, you are going to sell Jamate the cloud rights. So Jamate,
absolutely, I'm gonna sell them. Yeah.
So Jamate is going to pay you $20, right?
Mhm.
But those rights now, anytime someone wants to use those cloud services for those games, you have to pay Jamate $20. So Jamate pays $20 to you now. That's what gets it off your plate. But going forward, Jamate can sell $20 rights to you, $20 rights to Sony, $20 rights to Amazon, Google, whatever. So it's a big get for Jamate. And what you get out of the deal is the CMA off your back so you can close the acquisition.
Yeah. That's totally worth it because now I have the CMA off my back. I still have the person who's going to be doing the rights in my pocket. They'll
But
make
how are
some
they?
extra
But how are
scratch.
they in your pocket? Like, yes, you get to do your cloud stuff, but so does everybody else. Like, it's not the monopoly that the CMA was afraid of. It solves their problem, does it not?
It doesn't because the moment I'm like, Jamate, do not sell it to GoogleCon. All right, here's $20.
But like that. But
Say,
that's a
there's
thing
an
you
issue.
cannot put. Like, I get what you're saying, but that's a thing that I feel like is completely unenforceable. Like you can't just you can't just
Yeah, but
like
that's
look
how
each
corporate
like two
works.
companies
Yeah,
can't look
that's
each other in the
business.
eye.
Money going
Yeah.
on the table all the time.
That's like
Yeah.
literally how huge amounts of business are run is
All of this
with
talk,
those
all
deals.
of this talk just makes me upset that these rights aren't given directly to me because I would like to be given 20 quid to license Overwatch to cloud streaming. Like that's pretty chill.
You want me? I'll give you $20 if you publish my games in the UK. How about that, Jermaine?
Okay,
Does that
yeah,
work?
sure.
All right, sweet. My
I'll also just
UK
show up.
office is off the ground.
Like
I'll just show up to wherever they're doing this and just be
like
like,
if you guys are saying that these businesses all are profit driven and they do what's in the best interest of the companies, etc., then why would you assume that Ubisoft would not sell these rights to every single person they could? Like, is that not in Ubisoft's best interest to not adhere to this idea of
But then in that
All right,
case,
being in
why
Microsoft's
are there-
pocket?
In that case, why are there games that are only on one console? Because they were offered a fuck ton of money from Sony to just put it on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they sell their game on PC and on Game
Because
Pass
because
and
they're trying to.
Microsoft?
I feel like that's a totally different thing than this situation, right?
But
Like
it's
we're
like
talking
you're
about
saying-
we're talking about a company acting in its best interest, right? Like we know what Microsoft gets out of this
Right.
deal. They get their merger to pass.
Okay, hang on.
But
so
Ubisoft gets something out of this deal as well, right?
So going back to this, so Jamate has the rights to publish my games, and
On cloud,
Honey
yes.
Money, Honey Money is like, hey Jamate, I want to publish those Jesse games. I'll pay you the publishing rights,
Mhm.
$20.
20
And
quid.
Casey is like, hey, I want to publish those at my Casey place, $20. And I go to Jamate and I go, hey, I don't want you to publish it for Casey. Publish it to Honey Money. Here's $20. Don't put it on Casey's. And he
That's-
goes, "Oh, sorry.
hush money.
There's
Yeah,
that's- So now
that
the
okay.
best
You're talking
now-
about straight up
Hang on.
crimes.
Yes!
You don't
It happens all the
business
time.
doing crimes.
Casey! Come on, Casey.
Yes, it is a crime.
Wait a minute. Are you talking about crimes? Yes. Yes, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Microsoft and Activision.
Like, no,
companies that have
look, listen,
indeed
listen.
done crimes.
Listen, I am all for not
Crime.
I'm all for crime. No, I am all for being super skeptical of like big corporations and whatnot. But I will also admit that a lot of these companies are doing things purely for profit, right? Like,
Right.
Like, but,
And
and, like they, and they
that's
make
what
and they
I'm
make
saying.
decisions that work, which is why they get so profitable.
I'm going to pay Jamate $10
think-
more if he doesn't publish on yours. Now
Like,
that's profitable. That is best for his company.
but it's not. Like, it's
But
not.
he's going to make an extra $10 by
Yeah.
not
No.
selling it to
I'm
you.
talking
more money.
about. Okay, in this case, I'm talking about Microsoft. It's not profitable for
Oh.
Microsoft to play that game, to tell this company that got them to close this deal, don't do the thing that allowed us to close this deal. Make sure
Why
that
not?
that's actually. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
Well,
I
no,
don't.
because they're not
know.
saying.
I feel like. Look, hold on one second.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, Microsoft, like, the biggest hurdle that they were facing was the idea that them buying Activision Blizzard was going to be a monopoly in terms of games publishing, period. They weren't worried about cloud. It's not something that was on their radar, right? The CMA brought that up kind of as like a last vestige of like, okay, we don't have a strong enough argument to say the first thing, but this cloud thing could be a thing in the future. So let's harp on that.
That is okay. I gotta do a quick correction. That is absolutely something that they were focusing on is cloud gaming. Not only with the stuff that they have in cloud gaming now and that they're moving towards. 10 years ago, with Xbox 360 and getting stuff on like your 360 and getting all that with your Microsoft Store and buying stuff digitally, like 10, 15 years ago, they were pushing hard for that. They were investing a ton in that. They knew what cloud gaming and cloud purchases were back then, and they put a ton into that. So it is absolutely something on their radar.
So it's
and that
in their
they've been
best
trying to
interest
build.
for, cloud infrastructure to spread and be ubiquitous. It's not right now, despite all their biggest efforts. Like, in terms of video games, like services, cloud is not a big deal. It would help if other people got into it and made it spread. So, like, what I'm saying is, like, it's not in their best interest to sort of snuff that out as soon as they possibly can. It makes more sense for them to be a big player in an actual emerging market.
Well,
So
yeah,
so if
they
someone
wanna
else was
own
like,
the
hey,
market.
I have a cloud service, like Nvidia has a cloud service, and it would help Nvidia to pay Ubisoft a bunch of money to get all those Activision games, why would Microsoft tell them no? That's what I'm getting at. I feel like that
Because
would
they-
not
Them
help
money.
them.
Because
That
that's
doesn't
lost
get them
revenue.
money.
Yeah, it's lost revenue if Nvidia's making that money and they're
What
not.
they want at the end of the day is, yeah, I do agree. Cloud gaming isn't where it should be.
Mhm.
Like I think we're all in agreement that with the trajectory we're on, it's looking like it's going to be the future. What they want is, in an ideal world, Microsoft want to force gamers onto Microsoft Game Pass. That's what they want. And how they're doing that is they're buying all of the companies that make all of the games. So
Sure.
it's all on Game Pass. So the only way you can play those games is on Game Pass. With this new system with Ubisoft, they're saying, yeah, you can license the rights to other people, but don't. Only put it on Game Pass. So if you want to do cloud gaming and you want to play this game, the only way you can do it is on here. That's how they make money off of that, because it's driving more people to them. They don't care about the sales, specifically cloud gaming.
Like,
they don't
I mean,
care if it's on Nvidia's site,
that
because they're
that
not
is
making any money from
that is an option, but like we're also forgetting that Game Pass as a subscription service has value in more than just those games, which means if it's fine if somebody else has the thing, because you would have to pay like a full $70 or a second subscription service in order to get to it, right?
But they're not getting the money from that subscription service. That's the point. If you're buying the Nvidia service and playing it on their site, they're not getting that money. Nvidia are. They've paid to host that game on their service, but they're not giving them a fee every time somebody plays that game. So Microsoft aren't making any money off of that specific deal. So they're going to tell Ubisoft, even though they could say no and they could give it to whoever, they're going to be like, you can do what you want, but don't. We want it.
I mean, you're right. That it's a possibility.
Oh, for sure.
I don't see it. Like, I feel like it's a lot of trouble for them to have to set this whole BS up in the first place to get past this thing. I feel like it'd be real crazy. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I do feel like it's real crazy if as soon as the deal closes, they turn around and be like, haha, gotcha. It's still a monopoly like you were afraid of, just in this new way.
They're not going to turn around and say that. They're just putting all the pieces in line.
It's
so
gonna be
that's
under
what's
the
gonna
table,
happen.
and
Yeah.
it's-
All right, well, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, only time will tell at this point. Like, if this goes through,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
Ubisoft gets the rights and whatnot, and all of a sudden, the Activision stuff just doesn't make it anywhere else, and Microsoft was just shrugging like, I don't know, nobody wanted to buy it, I guess. You know what I mean? Like then we'll be like, all right, yeah, they did it. They pulled one over on us. I personally don't see it, but it's
also
a
buy-
definite possibility.
Someone mentioned this in chat. They could also what happens when Microsoft makes a bid to buy Ubisoft,
Yeah.
which
That'd be interesting.
Ubisoft is. I mean, in the group of like the 14 biggest companies that do video game publishing, Activision Blizzard and Ubisoft are in there. They already bought one of them. They want to own the whole
Yeah, I want to say
landscape.
Ubisoft is like 11th on that list or something like
They're
that.
on there. It's somewhere. They make a lot of games.
They do make a
Well,
lot
they
of games.
publish
That's
a lot of
when you
games.
get into real monopoly shit, which is illegal. And like,
Yeah, like if they come on now, all the stress that they just got over Activision Blizzard, I can't. Like they're
No,
gonna.
but that's it. They've already, if it goes through, then they have a case for, well, this one worked out. Why don't we get this
let's
other
move
one?
forward.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
look at media with like how
It would probably be Sony then, in all honesty. Like if anyone's gonna
bought-
do it, Sony would be like, all right, well, we'll take Ubisoft or EA.
That's what they should be doing. And then
Yeah.
not. This
To be
is
honest,
why
yeah.
we had the conversation about their dumb $200 toilet game. Like, instead of buying companies and trying to compete with Microsoft, they're making this bullshit. But this is the thing. It's like Disney. Disney own so much of the media production world, but they own
Yeah.
it to a percent where it's not considered the monopoly. Like, they know the exact percentage of the industry they can own to it, so it's not illegal. And when they lose things, they just buy things again until it's at that exact percentage.
Which is
Microsoft aren't doing
ridiculous.
that. They're just buying everything. It's
Yeah.
like they're just like, woo! They're a kid in a toy, like a candy shop. It's crazy.
I mean, you are right. Like exists, but like video games are a different medium, and like the avenues to like success are a lot more open than those big companies. Like there are a lot of smaller companies that can break in. Like I know it's hard. Like it's like a crap shop, but like there's new indie outside of the big publishers. There's new like AAA studios that get formed all the time. So like yes, they might
Yeah,
get eaten
and-
eventually.
and fail too. Like,
Well, yeah, sure. There's a lot of
there are-
failures as well, but I'm just saying, like it's a much more dynamic
you know
industry.
what makes failure a whole lot more prominent and possible is when you only got several big studios, maybe one big studio that you can connect with, and they go, hey, do you want to be on our exclusive Game Pass thing? It's like, no, I don't. It's like, well, then we're not going to help you, or we can bury you, or we can buy the team out from under you, put them on our thing, and then you'll fail, and now we have people. Like, when you're dealing with companies this big, you are at their mercy, and that's why monopolies and things that are getting close to monopolies are so bad for consumers and for art and business. It's because they say, we run enough of this shit that we can stomp you out, and it's pocket change to us.
But there are companies that do what you're saying, and there are companies that do not. Like
Yeah,
What happens
and you
when
don't know what you're gonna get. Like,
the other
no,
company
I'm saying like we can look at companies' track records and see what they have been doing. Like some of the biggest, most faceless corporations in the video game industry have been generous to game developers. Tencent is who I'm referring to. Like they've bought so much of the industry. They own just a shadowy amount.
generosity.
No,
That's
but the-
business.
No, of course it's business, but like it's also the case where like they're not doing anything evil yet, we'll say. Because yes,
for
they're
sure.
investing all this money left, right,
Yeah.
center, but these companies are allowed to do what they want to do with that money. Like we're not seeing like just straight up evil happening in this industry in that way. Like that's why like I get the cynicism for a lot of big corporations, and like yes, video game companies can be very bad, but we are still talking about video game companies. And by and large, they are not this evil.
I don't agree. EA.
I mean, I'll stand alone on this. I will stand alone
No,
on this.
yeah,
I'm
like,
fine.
The thing is, you're completely right in the sense that like all companies do have their own way of doing things, and some operate really wholesomely and really good. Some operate not so wholesomely. EA. And the thing is that was true and still is in the film industry, because I don't think they're that different. The problem is the big companies, like Jesse was saying, they do have the monopoly in that space, so they can stamp people out. Now, historically, EA have done this. They have stamped on companies and destroyed series like Mass Effect and stuff like that, chasing profits and doing these things and buying different companies, dissolving them, doing all this horrible shit. Yes, right now that's an edge case for them. But what if EA had the monopoly on games media? That would be happening across the board and would be terrible for the consumer, because like Mass Effect fans, they have destroyed that series.
But
seemingly no reason.
But has that not also destroyed EA's like credibility in the market? Like the video game audience, I feel like is very different from the. What do you mean no? Like
No,
EA was voted like one of the worst
credibility,
companies
though?
in the
Oh, no.
world. Which
And they're crying with $100 bills. It does not matter.
no,
at
but
this
Jesse,
point
it
that
does
they do
matter
that.
because if you've been paying attention, EA has changed that. Like they put Vince Zampella at the head of their company. He's handling all their studios. EA has, for the last couple of years, been releasing stuff that's actually good. Like they removed a bunch of the microtransaction stuff because they got in trouble for it.
But if you look at DICE, like they're still destroying Battlefield, like one of their biggest franchises. And
I mean, they're not perfect. What I'm saying is, in comparison to other like big corporations, especially in media, video games I feel like they're a lot more responsive to those sorts of complaints. Like when their player bases yell out and say like, we will not stand for this, those companies do make those changes. Like Microsoft was one way until they got completely obliterated by Sony because the fans noped out of everything that they were talking about with Xbox One. And then they had to change their tune. Phil Spencer got in charge, and all of a sudden they're, for the consumer in every conceivable way. That is a full-on shift of Xbox games from what it was to what it is today.
That's marketing.
It's not marketing, it's the truth. They've provided services that are of much greater value to consumers than any other games maker since. That is just true.
Stuff that is, they have provided some stuff, but the language in which they do it, in everything that you said, that's the marketing. Like they're providing a service so that they can make money off people. Like,
it's not part of marketing explaining what a company is doing, like just point blank period.
In the floweriest, best language possible. Yes, and also not mentioning the other stuff that they do. Absolutely.
So what is the other stuff that is harming consumers in this regard? Because like at this point, there is no video game publisher of the big three that is doing more for a consumer than Microsoft. That's just the truth. Nintendo does not care about your money. Sony does not care about your money.
I don't think anyone's saying that Microsoft are like evil and are doing horrible things at this current moment. What this stemmed from was my argument of like the films industry has become so horrible and toxic to make media because of monopoly. I just don't want games to get to that point. You're completely right that we are not at that point yet in games. You can succeed with smaller companies. You can succeed as an indie. But if we allow monopoly to continue and to get to that point, once they have the monopoly, they don't have to do all of this. Let's try and convince everyone everything's okay now. We've got to get people back because they own the industry. So they can just do whatever they want. That's what's bad for a consumer. Because once they get to that point, they don't have to care about our feelings anymore.
But they don't even need to get to that point, is what I'm saying, because Nintendo's been doing that for a long time now. They don't care about anything you have to say because they're kind of immune to this sort of stuff. But they're not a monopoly in this industry because this industry is so dynamic. And Sony now feels like they can do whatever they want, as we can see with the PlayStation Portal. But they are also not a monopoly. Like you can act like an asshole, an anti-consumer piece of shit in this industry, and there's still space for the people who do care about the consumer to like get, I don't know, get a piece of the pie. That's basically what I feel.
1 ounce in that argument. I completely think you're right. The issue is if it does get to a monopoly, that's what I'm concerned about. And I think what are they called again? The Brits against monopolies.
The CMA?
That's the one.
Brits against monopolies, CMA. Yep.
Yeah, that was.
Bam.
Checks. Like
catchy.
That's what they're trying to stop. They're like, hey, this looks like you're on the track to get the monopoly on this industry. That is very bad for consumers and is very illegal. for those reasons, you need to check yourself. And they're finding a very round, weird, backward solution. And yeah, I don't directly think that Ubisoft stuff is going to harm consumers. It's just where this could lead, because it could get to the point where, you know, they've bought out EA, they buy out Ubisoft, and the only competitor is Sony, because Sony are never, ever gonna sell to Microsoft. They'd rather die. They'll die on that hill with their dumb toilet machine.
Yeah.
They do that, and if they keep finding these roundabout ways to be like, oh no, but because of this loophole, it's fine. Then they have the monopoly, and then games are gonna take a nosedive, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, I'm on your. I don't think monopolies are good. Like, I want to make that clear. Like, I'm not on the side of monopolies.
Casey's not pro crime, not pro monopoly.
Wow, hot takes.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the chat as well. So I'll just point out a couple of things. Lampy was saying not to focus on games. We're talking about Microsoft as they do horrible things all the time. That is also fair. Microsoft is a much bigger company than just the Xbox branch, and sure. They definitely are. They have monopolistic intentions, for sure.
As we all discuss things on our Windows computers,
right? I mean, yeah, we're all just. I mean, you had a choice. You had a choice. You either picked you either wanted a Mac or a
Mac where I can't play with my friends, or use and spend.
But you can have a Windows partition on a Mac.
That is Apple's fault. That is not.
Okay, so what are the other options?
Ubuntu and
I just run off a Raspberry Pi.
Oh, cool.
The OS myself.
Yeah, so a different operating system in which I can't run Steam. Awesome.
Oh, great. I can't play any of the games.
Oh man.
Cool.
But yeah, we're not talking about those companies. We're talking about just video games. And I will live in my gullible little world where the video game companies don't want us all dead by 2049. Okay.
There's no crime. There's never crime.
Never crime. Not in the video game world.
But yeah, anything else on this before we wrap up? We went a bit long today, but I think it was worth it.
Yeah.
Passionate.
So thanks everybody for tuning in. Honey Money, what do you have coming up that folks can check out? Where can they find you?
I stream on twitch.tv/realhoneymoney. I'm playing through Doom 2016 right now, Mondays through Wednesdays. And then I try to do Kick. Yeah. Rip into it. I try to do Kick streams, but it's just, I've been sick. It's not been happening for a bit, so I'll try and get back to that. So yeah. That's me.
Nice. Jamate, where can folks find you? What do you have
you can find me at theescapist.com/theescapist.com, where I do a series called Design Delve, where I kind of break down game design bollocks, which a lot of you already know. There are some potentially very interesting things happening to my show in the not too near future. So look out for that. They may or may not be happening. They were happening, and then they weren't happening, and now I think they're happening again.
Ooh, wow.
Ooh.
Emotional roller coaster right
yeah,
now.
It was a load of it had to go to the higher ups and shit. But it's positive things. So look out for that. It should be maybe not next episode, the episode after is when we start to see that fruit. But yeah, I have an episode on Baldur's Gate 3, and if it improved on D&D's design, that's out for early access members, and also on my Patreon. So check that out, and that's about it, really.
Nice. Jesse, how about you? Where can folks find you? What do you have coming up?
Rexhound Jesse, Twitch, Twitter, stream, Blue Sky, Twitch, yeah, there we go, YouTube. So I'll be streaming on my channel tomorrow at 11 Eastern, just playing games. I should have a 3MR coming up on Escapist coming out, and then the Zelda stream on Escapist starts on Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern. Very excited. Get to play through A Link to the Past with Marty, and then a rotating third chair. And then Casey and I Hidden Gems tomorrow, which reminds me I need to pick a game. And Casey and I with getting some booty on Wednesday.
Play Life is Strange.
Play Life is Strange.
As a hidden gem?
Yeah.
I feel like it was too popular, but I'll have to check. And I think that's it.
Nice. As always, you guys can find me at Sigma Gears 9 on Twitch, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, and Instagram. Like I mentioned earlier, my latest review I think was for Immortals of Avium. Should have a review dropping for Trine 5 soonish, so you can check that out over on Escapist. Aside from the streams I'm doing with Jesse, I also have the Portal streams with Marty. We should be probably wrapping up Portal 2 the next time we go live, so check out one of the best endings in video games ever.
Yeah.
After that, check us out later today over on the Open Party Twitch channel for Super Smash Sunday. Superman Jeff will be joining me. We'll be playing some real sweaty one-on-one King of the Hill Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's a great time. Come watch us commentate and argue with each other. It'll be fun. But thank you, everyone in chat. Thanks to my guest this week. Great show as always. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.